get access to certain facilities until she was vaccinated. So she actually paid the money down for vaccination. Yeah. She'll have to ensure that she get vaccinated before she gets access to services.
I think everyone is doing what they think suits them. Yeah, so the conversation should continue on our side. Yes. And let's also broaden our knowledge on what we need to do.
Exactly. You've got a big health chat this morning.
I do have a big health chat. The Honorable Minister for Health will be on the seat today talking about everything the government is doing to prioritize the health of Ghanaians. So you may want to note that conversation in your book and also turn your notifications on across our social media platforms. We're streaming live on Facebook, we're streaming live on YouTube. You can reach us on Instagram and Twitter. Just remember to use the hashtag GTV Breakfast. So the Health Minister will be in the house to answer questions pertaining Ghana's health journey. So what are your questions? Note them down or send them ahead of time to our WhatsApp number 05555 We are grateful to our sponsors, Adonko Next Level Energy Drink and Awake Purified Water. Lufat is going to help us with our health segment today, and we are discussing a conversation that CAF particularly finds very intriguing. It's about bedwetting in children.
Yes.
But there's bedwetting in adults as well.
Very
but today we are focusing on children.
Very traumatic experiences for me when I was growing up. But I'll let Valerie speak about what's going to be happening. I'll come and talk to you about bedwetting.
My mouth was wide open because I was looking at her as international producer.
Yes.
And she was just saying something to me behind the scenes. But I'm shocked. I can't say it on air. Okay. Good morning, my neighbor. I'm really shocked, guys.
All right.
So on Saturday, we've been keeping an eye in the central region. We are going to do that because Alan is there. We're looking at something that's causing a lot of discomfort to the people in that particular community. We're looking at the landfill site that's turned potentially dangerous to the people living in the communities, posing health threats and other complications. So that's the conversation to look forward to from my side of the corner. I'll be looking at what traffic looks like in part of the capital. You might want to send us what traffic looks like from where you're coming from, if you're going to work, if you're going for a meeting, anything. Let us know what traffic looks like for you, where you're coming from. Hashtag follows GTV Breakfast on all our social media handles. You just type hashtag GTV Breakfast on every social media handle and we'll pop up and you can follow us from there. So that's a conversation to look forward to. And then when we have all the conversations throughout the whole show, the last 30 minutes before the show, that's when you can call in. We'll give you the number, you call in and you tell us anything. Just free your mind. That segment is called What's on Your Mind. So that's something to look forward to. The last one, when we're about to finish eating our breakfast. So I'm going to hand over to tea and coffee.
Okay, can I just give a quick shout to Akusika Clothing for my lovely outfit. This is the Alice dress and Valerie's outfit as well. Akusika Clothing at Hacho. You need to follow her on Instagram.
This is the Valerie dress. This is the Valerie dress.
So that's her number and that's the handle you need to follow, Akusika_clothing on Instagram, and she has ready to wear lovely Ankara dresses ready for you to pick up on the go and just rock it wherever you're going. So Alice dress, go on her Instagram page. So many more options available for you to pick from, and Valerie's lovely dress as well. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Akusika Clothing, and all the beautiful girls in your shop. The shop is right there on the Hacho. I mean, it's on the Hacho
right near the Bina petrol station.
Yes, but the best way to locate them is just go on Instagram. Akusika_clothing. She's everywhere on Instagram, and this is the Valerie dress. It's ready to go. Like, you just pick it.
Next time I wear the Thelma dress.
Yes, please do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the words. So sweet. Listen, there's a conversation that's coming up in 19 minutes. Very traumatic for me because back then, Charlie, wee-weeing on my bed was the thing.
How old were you when you stopped?
Till Form 1, boarding school, I was peeing on my bed.
That was almost teenage, yes?
As I said, Valerie, going to bed, I said, tell me, Valerie, going to bed was like a traumatic thing because you're wondering, will it happen today? Will it happen? And then you wake up at 3 a.m. and you can see the map of Africa on your bed. And this is the boarding house. So quickly you have to now put so I used to have a plastic...
A Macintosh.
Yes, under my mattress so that it doesn't get...
Under the mattress, under the bed sheet.
Oh, Charlie. And then you're waking up at 3 a.m., you're washing your things, you're
wondering, so that no one notices.
Anybody see you, Charlie?
I remember when we were kids, if you wet your bed, they would wrap a mat around you and parade you down the street. That was such a mean thing. And they had a song, it was the most mean.
when you wake up, before you do that, do you like sort of dream that you
It's a beautiful dream. It's and it's warm. Ooh, you wake up and say, oh, I've wet my bed. I've wet my bed.
To be fair, what feverish dreams? You turn to bed with.
My grandma, who was knocked out with the
snuff.
The snuff.
I love your grandma.
Threatened me. And I'll tell you during the low fast health checkup about the bedwetting threat. I'll even thinking about it is giving me nightmares.
Oh my God.
That's about bedwetting in children is our conversation.
There's something about CAF that makes unpleasant breakfast conversations pleasant. We had a discussion on diarrhea. I'm thinking this is not a good topic for the moment.
Bedwetting.
But
he said like this thing is watering.
Bedwetting. We know that it's a serious condition. We may be passing jokes and all, but there are some people who actually need help, and our health experts will tell us what exact kind of help is needed and how you can help yourself or your children or wards to overcome the habit. So that's another thing to look forward to. Of course, we are starting off with our wisdom nugget.
Yes, and Dr. Kofi Kusi says, learn to promote other people. That's our wisdom nugget right here on GTV Breakfast 614. Enjoy. We'll see you on the other side.
It's a phenomenal morning to you. Good morning to you. It's always an honor to come your way again with the wisdom nugget for today. And as I always say, a nugget a day, that's what? Answer it. A nugget a day, that's what? A nugget a day keeps the problems away. If you keep taking these wisdom nuggets, you're going to drive a lot of the problems in your life away. Hey, today my nugget is learn to promote other people. Learn to promote other people. Maybe it's simple, but I think it's quite deep. I remember once interviewing a gentleman on my TV show several years ago, and in this interview, there was something this gentleman said which has stuck with me for several years now. And what he said to me was, hey, you know what, one of the secrets to his own life, and he is such a significant leader in the United Kingdom, he said to me that one of the secrets of his success in life was that he learned very early to promote other people. Have you been in a position where, you know what, everyone was going ahead, getting ahead, and you were stuck behind, and you struggled a little bit, to really, manage your own emotions? Example, a situation where all your friends are getting married, all your friends have gotten married, and you are not yet married. How does it feel when you have to attend all of these weddings? Have you been in a workplace where everyone is promoted and you are left behind? How do you handle a situation like that? Have you been caught up in a situation where everybody seems to be getting ahead and only you seem to be left behind? You may naturally begin to feel a little bit jealous or begin to have all kinds of negative thoughts in you. But what I learned from that friend of mine was that when you find yourself in situations where other people win and other people begin to succeed, learn to be the first to celebrate that person. Learn to be the first. Learn to be the first to congratulate that person. And when you do that, guess what? Bigger things are going to come your way. Yes, sometimes it can really be difficult. I remember many years ago when I completed Presec Legon. And, after Presec, a lot of my class, and not a lot, a number of my classmates, got a chance to go to the United States and the UK and Germany and other places for further studies. And I was still here. I had gone to write all of these TOEFL exams and everything else. And guess what? And everyone was going. And sometimes it's so painful. You begin to ask yourself, why am I here? And sometimes even for the slightest of things, we can feel so low of ourselves. But guess what? You don't need to go through that. When you see other people going ahead in what seems like the progress for their lives, don't feel low and don't try and manage your jealousy. You know what? Be the first to celebrate them. I can tell you, people may have gone all over the world, but even for those who may have stayed here and have done other things, you realize that in many years' time, they were not so better off than you. And that's the same for you. Don't feel low when you see other people go forward. Be the first to celebrate them. When you lift other people up, you can never stay down. It's not possible to lift other people up and stay at the bottom of life. And so the next time somebody gets something that you don't have, don't feel jealous. Clap for them, push yourself, and be the first to celebrate them. Celebrate them, because as you celebrate them, your own good things are going to happen to you. And whether people like it or not, as you celebrate other people, good things are going to follow you and going to come your way. This is a simple nugget for you, but guess what? It has the power to catapult you to the top of life. I wish you a fabulous day. I wish you an excellent day. Keep smiling because good things are coming your way. Expect good things today. Expect good things your way. Expect great things as you celebrate other people's successes. Hey, enjoy your day and have a fabulous time. God bless you.
Thanks for staying on. It's Breakfast Live on GTV, made possible by Awake Purified Mineral Water and Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. Also look at anti-malarial medicine, as well as Aku Sika Clothing, located at Hacho. Follow her on Instagram, Aku Sika Clothing, and get yourself some lovely dresses like this Alice one I'm wearing. 2 inside pockets. I always say a dress is always made better by pockets. So you can just put your hand in there. Thank you, Akwiska, and your lovely staff for this outfit. We are going to look into social media trends, and in the spirit of AFCON and all the games that we played last night. So while people were celebrating Sierra Leone for holding Algeria to a goalless draw and Nigeria beating Egypt 1-0, the staff at Accra FM were not having a good day. They actually got into a bit of a tangle with the police over the authorization to broadcast matches. So remember that GBC got exclusive rights to broadcast the matches and invited people who were interested in doing same to come on board. Of course, some did come on board, others did not, and we are getting indications that perhaps Accra FM did not get that authorization. So the police was there to enforce the directive. It didn't go down too well because the staff, I think, asked for identification according to the stories that we've read, and that was provided to them, and it turned into a bit of a fracas. So now I'm wondering, I'm waiting for the police to maybe come out with a word to tell us exactly what happened
and
according
these days
to
they're
them.
quite swift. So I'm sure by the close of the day you will see something on their Facebook or their Twitter. They are quite fast with their communication, yes. But yeah, authorization to use the coverage or to cover has to go through the right channels. But let's see what the police also have to say, because this is what we are hearing from the Accra FM people. So let's also hear what the police have to say. But that's the news.
But
those
before the game started, before the AFCON started, GBC and the other media houses and the police service, there was a press conference, and the police said that they said emphatically that if you pilfered on our infringed on the rights, the police will come for you. Yeah. So it was said.
One thing I also want to state is that we as citizens have a right to demand that you identify yourself. If you come to my house and tell me that you are the police and you have to arrest me, I'll ask you,
where's your ID and where's the warrant?
What's your number? What's your ID? I want to see your warrant. Yeah. So that is one bit of education that we need to have. You know, it is your right to ask the police officer, whoever is claiming to be a police officer, may I see your identification? May I see your number? You know, things like that.
Not just the police, but you know when the guys from the electricity company, water, they come to the house.
Any service provider, you have a right to ask for an ID.
Yes.
And they have to show it to you so that you see it clearly and be convinced that you're actually dealing with the right people. Otherwise, your safety is of concern to you, and you can't deal with people that you cannot trust, especially when their identity is in doubt. And the indications we are getting is some of these policemen were in plain clothes, and so a request was made to see identification or proof of ID, which did not go down too well. So we are waiting to hear what the police service may have had to say about that.
There's a little bit of information in this story that I'm reading. It's attributed to classfmonline.com. So the news anchor who suspected the plainclothes men may not be police officers, as they claimed, she said, she gave us a description of the people. She said some of them were wearing short dreads,
an
earring, football jersey, ripped jeans, and slippers. I mean.
So it could also be that some people...
You're the police and you're dressed like this.
But the CIDs, usually the investigators go around in plain clothes. That's how come they get their intel and their information.
Yeah, but this whole business of ripped jeans and earring and jersey, and it's AFCON, yes, but you can't be walking around.
But if you're going there and in disguise, come on. I don't think they should.
I'm liking the two sides of the argument.
She asked for identification, which was right.
Yes.
But if the CID or the investigator decides to even go in as a madman, if he decides that's the way he's going to get his intel.
Have you seen any madman arrest you before?
No, but if that's his intel, to get into the bar or a place to see if the match is going on.
He can be dressed like a drunkard sitting in a bar observing things. But if a drunkard tries to arrest me, I'll resist.
That's how come she asked for their ID.
The ID, and that didn't go down well.
So
let's wait and see what further communication, especially from the police comes out of this, and especially because GBC is involved, so that we see exactly how it went. So all the sides must tell their story. Is the position that we always maintain at GBC. So we get the benefit of the full facts, if that's possible. Let's see, and the mobile network operators are also, they've had crunch meetings to talk about how to improve the customer experience for the SIM card registration exercise, and they've made a number of suggestions. So let me see if I can go through a few of them. So there was a meeting, and they decided that they needed to improve the experience for customers and subscribers. And at the end, the MNOs, app designers, and the NCA agreed that all stakeholders are to improve the customer experience at various registration centers to reduce and eliminate long queues at stage 2 of the registration, and they will take urgent steps to increase the number of agent staff undertaking the biometric capture at stage 2 and open up additional registration points, increase the number of devices for the biometric capture, publish the locations of the registration. So the SIM registration location centers will be published as well, and there will be a continuous update of the SIM card registration application to ensure it is robust and efficient at all times. And there will also be deeper collaboration to ensure that all associated challenges with the SIM card registration exercise are addressed promptly, and it's expected of all stakeholders that all concerns regarding the SIM registration will be resolved for a successful exercise. So the attempts to make sure that the system is improved. We spoke to Dr. Ken Ashigbe the other day, and he talked about how several engagements were ongoing to ensure that the queues that we've seen are brought down to the barest minimum. He mentioned that other centers would be opened across the country, and the telcos were talking about making this better. Surely this is good news. In addition to workplace registration and what they call institutional registration, moving from work to work and registering people. This should help.
Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the system. I haven't done my stuff yet. So I'm going to test the system and see whether all these beautiful flowers...
Have you done the 404?
No, that's why I'm going to start from there.
That's stage 1.
I'm going to start the whole system, and then I'll come back and report to you ladies to see exactly how things are going.
Report to us ladies.
No, I want to report to you and the world via DTV Breakfast. So I'll start the process and I'll let you know. Okay.
Okay. So we'll just wait for that.
Thank you very much. Have you done yours?
Yes, I have.
You done yours?
I did mine via phone. It's actually easy when you're using different. I think the problematic network here is MTN, because the other network is quite easy to do. Yes.
So you've done yours? You've done yours?
Yes. I did mine in Cape Coast when we went for Farmers Day.
Oh, you guys
I did mine on my phone.
All right.
So.
Okay. All right.
So
nice. Okay. Cool.
Farmers Day, I took the opportunity to get mine sorted out.
Well, one step, because I still have to go and get the fingerprints.
So you're not done. Fingerprints.
Yes.
Oh, you are done?
I'm done.
Okay.
So
Now,
stage
what is
one.
number 3?
Stage one. Yes.
Stage 0. Stage 0. What else?
There's one Nestle, and they are going to replace some coagulated milk that some customers got. I'm still trying to figure out the details. So if you buy something that goes bad, and
The carnation milk was the one that
Okay.
actually went online first that was bad.
Okay.
And then people started taking photos. So they are calling on Nestle Ghana, especially the rousing started on Twitter, where people were actually on Nestle Ghana. The hashtag was Nestle Bad Milk.
Wow.
And so the FDA yesterday sent a communique, which I am trying to get, but that's
Okay.
the story. And so they are pressurizing Nestle to get the bad stuff off the market, and they are saying that it's gone to the far off places, not in Accra. So, and most people don't have access to the dailies and the TVs and other things. So we have to find a way. Well, Nestle has to find a way of reaching the heart to.
but do we know if this product is expired? Do we know
The statement was
if-
up on the screen a couple of minutes ago, and I think we should just be able to read a bit of the statement. We can have the statement on the screen so we can read a bit of the details. Yeah.
So some of the details we're seeing on the screen from the FDA, update on consumer complaints on coagulated milk products from Nestle Ghana. Food and Drugs Authority wishes to update the public on developments concerning consumer complaints on coagulated milk products from Nestle Ghana Limited. Following the receipt of consumer complaints and in line with best regulatory practices, the FDA immediately requested Nestle to respond to the complaint and initiate a recall of affected batches. To date, the FDA has undertaken a comprehensive regulatory action to ensure that any safety concern because I'm trying to get to the juicy bit. This process included but not limited to complete good manufacturing practice. Microbial analysis was conducted on samples taken from the manufacturing facility and complaint samples at the FDA lab. Results indicated there was no microbial contamination of samples and therefore there is no food safety issue with the said coagulated milk products from Nestle. The analysis also confirmed there was no leaching of dangerous chemicals from the inner lining into the milk product. So far, the root cause analysis indicates that the skimmed milk powder, that's the raw material used to produce the milk complained of, has poor heat stability. This results in the denaturing of the protein leading to the coagulation of the milk. Denatured protein, however, poses no health risk. Based on the above, the unlisted batches of evaporated milk which were manufactured with the raw material are being recalled. So the batch numbers are there for ideal milk, batch numbers there for carnation milk. Fact remains, the product does not look like it should. It doesn't look like
milk is supposed to be liquid.
Yeah.
And it's not.
That thing
it's
looks like
pudding.
cocoa.
Yes.
Pudding.
Pudding.
So
What is
it's
pudding in English?
thickened up. I don't think that would be a pleasant experience. I'm looking at all the reports on Twitter, and I've only seen some of these things with the sachet milk. I haven't seen them with the tins. So if they're recalling the batch, surely there's something there. Otherwise, why recall it and why say you want to replace it for customers? So at least we are happy that there is a response. So it means that the monitoring works and that customer or consumer experiences and complaints are being taken on board. Surely that's a good thing. So Nestle is working, FDA is working with Nestle to ensure that these batches are taking off the market, and that's good news. Yesterday it was I keep saying it was a great, if you're a football fan and you missed all the games yesterday, I don't know how you can relive the experience, because watching a match, you see, you are a Manchester United fan. That's different from being a football fan. Some people think it's mutually exclusive, but it's not.
But
sometimes you follow a team, but you don't follow the games. And for those who follow games, football games, not matches.
Okay, so you that you watched all the games.
I didn't watch all the game. I listened to commentary because I was in transit. So
anything.
The iconic one was the Egypt and the Nigeria one. So our brothers and sisters who are Nigerians, good morning Nigeria.
Good morning Nigeria.
They were having, the whole Twitter went into meltdown.
This is a great goal. Iniacho, boom, boom, goal.
Can we bring Kelechi to the studio, please, after the AFCON? So Nigeria stealing the hearts of Africa yesterday, making West Africa proud. Can we just associate ourselves? It's a West African thing.
Considering that we lost our own.
It's a West African thing. So Egyptian hearts broken, but Nigerian heart elated and having a field day. More matches to be played today, of course.
Moses dealt with the Pharaohs.
Moses,
Yes, Moses. Dealt with the
So I didn't watch it, but I was catching highlights and commentary up on social media, and someone said actually Mo Salah no sit up. We be like, there's no Sadio Mane, Mo Salah no day. Is that true?
But Sadio sent them a shout. Big ups to you. Big ups to. I mean, I think it was a beautiful day for beautiful African football, and we should all just be extremely proud.
Guys, you know what it is for me when we are watching these games? It's not even about the goals. You know, before the games begin and they are singing, the players are standing there singing the national anthem, you see the supporters, like you can just feel the spirit, like, you know.
And we can definitely feel the spirit.
Can we take a moment and appreciate the fact that the matches and the games we are seeing, amazing footballers with nice faces.
Guys, I know.
Valerie will say this.
Good eye candy, right?
Eye candy.
Watch the game. Watch the game. Beautiful games being played. Remember to follow GTV Sports Plus at my GTV Sports Plus on Twitter, a verified account for all the updates from the AFCON games. Follow us as well on social media. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're also streaming on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram as well. Remember to use the hashtag GTV Breakfast. Also, reach out to us on our WhatsApp number 055-55-61034 and let us know what you think about any of the stuff we've discussed here so far. Remember, we have a date with the Health Minister today at the table to talk about what the agenda is to develop and improve health systems for Ghanaians across the country. And we'll also be looking into a very peculiar health issue on bedwetting in children. So why is it such a big concern? Why does it happen? How can you help yourself and others you know who are facing that condition, especially once they get out of those diapers? So that conversation will be brought to you by kindness of Lufat. And we'll take a break. When we return, we'll have that sit down. Be with us. To ask our cheesy question of the day, and we're asking how many matches are being played in the AFCON 2021 tournament. And if you know the answer to that, there's an opportunity to win yourself a voucher to get yourself some delicious meals from Cheesy Pizza. So that's the question of the day. How many matches are being played in AFCON 2021? That's an opportunity to win a voucher to get pizza, or I understand you can actually get something else apart from pizza if you are not a pizza person.
Like
get pizza, okay. Get pizza. Anything that's on the menu, I think there's a criteria. So you can choose from that group of whatever you may want to get from Cheesy Pizza. They serve other things as well. So that.
Yeah. This is the breakfast show.
Morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant.
Complimentary breakfast?
Off of your plate chicken vegetables. So in my lifetime, I haven't seen Ghana Black Stars being an African country.
Can I show what is written on the box?
Yes, definitely.
Where's the camera?
Just stand and turn.
So what's your pleasure than Botras, yeah? At that time of the morning. So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
We've got you covered with a trusted team.
6:37, you're watching GTV Breakfast. Thelma and Valerie are still drooling over the fine specimens of African hunks on display at Cameroon 2021. But I'm always wondering, why do these musicians always sing about Atamfu and somebody's hating me and hate? What's all this negativity, man? Even the top guys are singing about Atamfu. What would underground guys sing about? You know, more positivity, guys, more positivity. Just like Zodiac yesterday, Charlie, good vibe, good vibe. Listen, you're welcome to the show. What I do hate is how I felt back then when I was weeing on my bed and just being so terrified of going to sleep. Bedwetting in children, what's it all about? When I was sharing my experiences, then my sons were telling me their experiences too. So it's good for daddy to confess, for the children to also come back and report and tell you all kinds of things. But if you have a child or ward who's experiencing this, or if you are watching us before you're going to school, you're thinking, how do I get rid of bedwetting, the shame and all that stuff? Well, our conversation is coming up right now on Health Check, brought to you by Lufat Tablet and Suspension. It's an anti-malaria taken after fatty meal for 3 days for effective results. Product of the Year at the Ghana Farmer Awards 2021. Proud to bring you Health Check right here on GTV Breakfast. Our conversation on bedwetting in children right after this.
The show was a jar oba anyone concrete dim.
The groom is sick.
What?
Malaria.
Malaria. Lufat.
Malaria and want to them. Lufat, I am malaria drop a compare. And now you make it the bride. Entrance Pharmaceuticals and Research Center. And I am Lufat. Lufat, a two malaria sententem. FDA, I should say a dead in Kratoi Ajatum.
Welcome, and your WhatsApp messages on 055-556-1034. If you are a child experiencing bedwetting, you can ask permission from mommy and daddy and send your message, and let's see whether the good doctor can help you. My guest is Dr. Bright Isiama. He's a pediatrician, and he's with the Pediatric Society of Ghana. Dr. Isiama, Happy New Year to you. Good morning. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
What causes bedwetting in children?
Okay, good morning to your viewers, and thank you for having me here.
Indeed.
So I'll start by describing what bedwetting actually is. So what is expected is that for children, as they grow older, by 5 to 6 years, they should be able to stay dry at night, and from then on ongoing. But in some children, even beyond 5 to 6 years, they are still wetting their bed, and that's what we say is bedwetting. They don't have the voluntary control to control their urine at night. Then we say they are having bedwetting. So if beyond 5 to 6 years a child still urinates at night, then it's described as bedwetting. Yes.
How common is it in your practice?
Yes, it's quite common. It's not talked about mostly because of the shame aspect, and people want to hide it. So you don't tend to hear of it often, but it's quite common amongst children. So statistics will tell you that about 15% of children around 6 years still bedwet, and then about 6 to 8% around the age of 8 years will still bedwet. Even 15-year-old children, about 2% of them still bedwet. So it's quite common amongst children. But because of the shame aspect, it's usually hidden, not talked about mostly. But it's quite common amongst children.
So is it a matter of bladder control? What exactly is happening that makes you unable to control the urge to urinate, and then you sleep at night, and then it comes out?
So I'm happy when you mentioned that you used to.
Yes.
And your kids are also doing the same.
Yeah, no, they've gone now.
So it tends to run in families.
Yes.
It tends to run in families. That's a genetic component.
Okay.
Yes. So about 50% of the time, you realize that if a child is bedwetting, then the parent, or even both parents, were bedwetting when they were kids.
Okay.
So it tends to run in families.
All right.
So what is about that as a child is growing, the brain control of the bladder should start developing. Whereby when the bladder is full, it should send signals to the brain that the bladder is full, and then the child should wake up at night and urinate. But in some children, that maturation is delayed. That maturation impulse from your brain to your bladder to tell that the bladder is full and then you have to go and pee is delayed. So then they continue to pee even after 5 to 6 years because that impulse is not matured enough to tell them to go and urinate. And also in some children, their bladder capacity is small. So the little amount of urine that they produce, the bladder gets full, and then it will outflow, and then they'll pass urine. And then also in some children too, psychologically, there can be a factor there. So you need to delve into, is there a problem in the family, maybe stresses, is there separation between parents?
Oh, really?
Yes.
So if parents are going through their issues,
it can also affect the child as well.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So when parents are having issues, divorce, separation, or any psychological stress in the family, can also affect the child, and then the child will start having bedwetting. Another aspect too is if the child has an infection, a urinary tract infection, that can irritate the bladder. So even at night, it irritates the bladder often, and then they'll bedwet at night.
Okay.
Yes.
So I stopped when I was like in boarding house from 1. And for me, it was a terrifying experience going to sleep, not knowing what would happen around 3 a.m. And the nights where I didn't wet my bed, it's almost like I'd scored the golden goal at the World Cup. You're so happy. But you wake up at 3 a.m. and you see the map of Africa on your bed and you start panicking. 12, that wouldn't have been quite common for a 12-year-old to be wetting his bed, but that's what happened to be.
Yeah, so some children, even beyond 8 years, 12 years, even 15 years, they still bedwet. So the maturation for some children is very slow. Even adults, about let's say 1% of adults still bedwet at night. So some continue to bedwet, but for the statistics, as children grow older, then the number of children who are bedwetting tends to become smaller. So you still find some children 12 years, 15 years, still having bedwetting at night.
Why is it such a traumatic issue? Why is there so much stigma associated with it? Because I remember my grandma used to threaten me with a live frog. She would tell me that, listen, the next time we on the bed, she's going to find a frog and tie it around my waist. And so the moment the fountain starts operating in the night, that frog would drink from that fountain. And it just terrified me. You didn't even want to go and sleep. I mean, why is it such a big deal? And why were people back then, and I'm suspecting even now, terrorizing children with all these threats?
I think it's a societal perception, and then there's associated shame with it, and then parents also tend to embarrass children when they're bedwetting. I mean, you wake up, your bed is all wet, and parents now have to change the bed sheets and then the mattress, even dry it, and it's sort of like work for the parents to go through that cycle every night. And when it was some stress to the parents, and then that stress is transferred to the child, and the children, some children are even beaten.
Yes.
And some are even called Jinsokrobo and
Shamolo and things like that.
So, and then that puts some psychological stress also on the children, and it becomes a vicious cycle. So if you don't break that cycle, you continue to shame the child, it will go on and on and on, and it's not helpful when parents do that to the children. There should be more motivation, encouragement. I mean, in some areas, they have a star chart or a motivational chart. So when you are dry every night, they call you.
Yes.
So maybe at the end of the month, we count the number of nights that you were dry.
And give you a prize.
And we give you a target. Let's say if you are dry by, let's say, 15 days in a month, we give you a reward.
Nice.
Let's say a toffee or a tablet or something.
Yeah.
So that's what is done in some centers where they have a motivation, a chart.
In Africa? Because
back in our environment, it's all ashamed.
Yeah, because
they even call you Yusokroba. I mean, the whole community.
No, everybody will know, and they sing songs.
Yeah, so those things are not helpful.
Yeah, I mean, when you said the drying of the mattress, it just brought me back to back then where you'd have the mattress out there, and that would be like the evidence that Charlie last night you do this.
And the map drawn.
The map, the African map. You know, the next day it's Ghana, next day it's Nigeria. You know, it's like all the African countries on your map.
And everybody gets to know the community that this child.
This is you. You know. So that wasn't helpful.
It's not helpful. It's not helpful.
Are there tips and tricks you can give parents and guardians, and even those who are wetting their beds, what do they do to minimize the occurrences?
So there are certain steps or measures that can be taken to help these children, and they can go out of it. So one of the steps is that reduce the amount of fluids or liquids that are taken before bedtime. So before bedtime, limit the amount of fluids or water, whatever drink the child will take before bedtime.
What will be the window period? If, for example, the child is going to bed at 9, when should he or she stop drinking water?
So like 2 hours before bedtime, then you limit it. No more drinks. No more fluids.
Okay.
Yes, 2 hours before bedtime. It's very helpful.
All right.
And then avoid drinks that have caffeine in it. So sodas.
The soft drinks will actually.
Soft drinks. Yes.
The cola drinks.
Yes, cola don't have caffeine in it. They tend to irritate the bladder sometimes. Yes. So limit the amount of drinks that have a lot of caffeine and sugar in it. Sugary drinks. Yes.
Okay. Sugar stimulates the production of urine.
Yes.
Okay.
So limit the amount of fluids that have a lot of sugar and caffeine in it. And then before bedtime, let the child pee before the child goes to sleep.
Okay.
It's very helpful. At least you are able to empty whatever was contained the bladder before the
bedtime. You go to the wall.
Okay. So let the child pee before bedtime. So at least whatever we produce will be during the night time. So let the child pee before bedtime.
Okay.
And then motivate the child. Don't embarrass the child or call the child names. And sometimes people let other family members know that this child.
They export the problem to everybody.
You are giving a name in the family.
Exactly.
It's not helpful.
Yeah.
It should be motivational to the child, encourage the child. And sometimes even a parent was also bedwetting.
But they won't tell you the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they hide.
I never heard my parents telling me that, I used to wet my bed. But yesterday I was sharing with my kids. And then they were also telling me that, hey, Charlie, yes, it was also happening to them. They also stopped around the time, 2 of them stopped around the time I also stopped.
So once you are able to, once you tell the child, it's not something difficult. I also used to bed when I was a kid. I stopped around 7, 8. So no shame.
Okay.
Be motivated. With time, it will gradually disappear and stop. So once you give the child that idea that it all happened in me, the child knows that it's not something new, and I can also go out of it. So that's also motivational to the child. And then, as I mentioned, the star charts too are very helpful.
Okay.
So you can have a calendar. Any night that the child was dry, you tick. Or put a star on it.
Nice.
And then you count the month. Oh, you did what? This month you had 15 dry nights, 10 dry nights. So next time you need 20. I'll buy you a tablet. I'll buy you something nice. Yes.
A positive bribes.
Yes. it encourages the children to stay dry at night.
Okay. Yeah. Does it get to a point where you may have to use medication to take care of bedwetting?
Yes. So sometimes if all these measures are not helpful, then we resort to medications. So there are some medications that we use that tend to reduce the amount of urine the child will produce at night. Yes.
Okay.
So we give it to these children. If all these measures are not helpful, and it's causing a lot of psychological stress to the children, then we put these children on these medications so that it helps them to reduce the amount of urine that's produced at night.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. 055-556-1034 is our WhatsApp number. Pretty shortly, I'll have Thelma on the screen to read out some of your messages. What age did you stop wee-weeing on your bed? At what age? Let us know. And how are you dealing with the situation with your children, your wards? I'm just very curious about your experience about bedwetting. It was quite a traumatic period for a lot of people, including me. I remember, yes, the limiting of water. Around 5 o'clock, I'll just stop drinking water. Even if you felt thirsty, you just stop because you don't want anything to happen.
You're told not to drink.
Yes.
After a certain time of the day.
Then
yes.
you stop. Yeah. So you said sometimes it goes even beyond child ages. You can get into adults. What's going on there? Because an adult is supposed to be able to control their bladder at some point.
So it's all about the maturation of the mechanism where the brain is linked to the bladder to tell the bladder, I'm full, let me pee. So in some people, that maturation is still delayed and never really happens. So you find that in some adults, they still bedwetting at night.
Okay.
But in such situations, you need to also delve. Is there any problem with the adult? Let's say an abnormality with the bladder, because some people, their bladder may be hyperactive and tend to go into contractions involuntarily, and then they pee. Is there an infection that this person is having that is causing this thing to be persistent even in adulthood, or any abnormality with the urinary tract? So then you have to delve into it and then
see a doctor.
Those, yes, and treat those.
So back to the children. You talked about how limitation of the drinks that the child will have, avoiding caffeinated drinks. That will also help you to not produce as much urine. How about making sure that throughout the day they go to the bathroom quite often to urinate? Will that also help? Yes.
So encourage the child. When a child ever feels the urge to pee, the child should go and pee. And also we want to show where the bathroom, the washroom should be close to where the child is having is having playing around, or even the bedroom, so that it's not like a burden for the child to get up and go and pee. So the washroom or the bathroom should be very close to where the child's play area is, or where the child's bedroom is, so that it doesn't become an impedance to the child getting up to go and pee. Yes.
So for those who would have to go through a whole process just to go and pee, or maybe the bathroom is even located outside of the building, that can actually worsen the problem, right?
Yes. So it's not very helpful when the washroom or the bathroom is quite far from the bedroom or where the child is sleeping, or the play area of the child. It should be quite close to where the child is, so that it doesn't become a hindrance or an impedance of the child getting up to go and pee.
Okay, landlords, this one is for you. You can actually help children reduce bedwetting. Make sure that the house has a toilet which is accessible. People don't have to walk like Kagdi all the way to some part of just to go and pee, because then it disturbs the children, and then the cases of bedwetting would increase. How about people who just for some reason like to hold on to the urine? They don't like to urinate often during the day. Can that actually worsen the cases of bedwetting at night?
Yes. So in some situations, when children are being toilet trained, let's say their mother, father are traveling with the children. Oh, let me get here before you pee. Oh, don't pee now. Oh, let's get to this location before you pee. It's not very helpful.
Okay.
If the urge is there, allow the child to pee. Don't tell the child to hold on and hold on. It doesn't help with the training of the bladder. Because the bladder gets full and full and full, and that impulse from the brain to tell about to pee at the right time becomes confusing for the child. So whenever the urge is there for the child to pee, let the child pee. Don't restrict the child. Don't tell the child, well, let's get to this location, or let's get here before you pee. If there's a washroom available or around the area, let the child pee, and it helps with the toilet training for the child.
Do salty foods promote the production of urine?
What I know is about sugary drinks. Yes. So salty foods also tend to draw a lot of fluid into your bladder. So salty foods also tend to lead to a lot of production of urine.
Okay.
Yes. So it's also not very helpful. So salty foods and then sugary foods.
Okay.
Not very helpful.
What's the number one piece of advice you can give to, first of all, a parent, and then to children who are actually going through this?
Yes. So first I'll start with the parents. So don't give the children names, Jinsokrobo and Samuel. It's not very helpful.
Literally, what does Jinsokrobo mean?
Childhood bed at night.
Oh, Charlie.
So it's not very helpful. It's not very helpful. It should be motivational to the child. And even if you had an experience like that when you were a child, let the child know that, oh, it's not you alone. I also used to have the same problem when I was a kid, and I grew out of it. And it gives the child that motivation that, oh, with time I also go out of it. And then whenever the child stays dry at night, give the child a thumbs up, or a congratulation, or a reward. So the child knows that whenever I'm dry at night, daddy or mommy is going to congratulate me, is going to reward me, and it motivates them to stay dry at night.
Okay.
For the kids too, I'll tell them that it's not you alone. Our 50% of children from 6 years going are bedwetting. So it's not you alone. And you go out of it. By 15, 16, you go out of it. So don't despair. Have courage. As you grow older, it will disappear, and then you're going to be fine.
Okay.
But just make sure that each and every time you stay dry at night, you give yourself a thumbs up.
Motivate yourself.
Motivate yourself and then move on.
Nice. Yes. My mom used to wake me up regularly. I mean, she had, I don't know whether she set her alarm, but she would probably wake me up once or twice in the night for me to go to the bathroom. Would you encourage parents to try and wake the children up, at least in the beginning?
In my opinion, the best is to let the child pee before the child goes to sleep.
Okay.
When the child is sleeping, you wake the child up. It's not very helpful. It disrupts their sleep, and it can cause problems with their sleep-wake cycle and all that. So it's not very helpful.
All right.
Let the child pee before child goes to sleep.
Okay.
And allow the child to sleep. You can have a Macintosh or plastic mattress
Yes.
the child can sleep on, so that it's not but the mattress itself.
Yeah.
But waking a child up at night,
Can cause
let's say
problems.
12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, it's not very helpful. It disturb their sleep, and then by school time they are dozing off, and it's not very helpful. Once you wake somebody up asleep, and then coming to sleep again becomes very difficult, so it's not very helpful.
Okay, 05555561034. Thelma, what are the bedwetting questions we have?
So Mina Hunter is asking, what a great stuff there on today's discussion desk. Here in our side of the world, we always demotivate the vulnerable. Thanks be to God, we are learning today that such practices are really below the belt. Illiteracy is killing us here. Please, can we advise people with this experience to be wearing diapers at bedtime? So that's his question.
You want a 6-year-old to be wearing diapers?
Should they wear diapers at bedtime?
So wearing a diaper is not helpful. They get used to it, and they always think, I want to have diaper, I can just pee in it and I'm fine. It's not very helpful.
And it also make you feel like you're a child again.
Yes, it's not very helpful.
Yeah.
Let the child know that I'm growing. I should learn to stay dry at night. Yeah. So it's not very helpful.
Okay, Kafu, my case was very serious. This one says I'm there already. So responding to the link that we sent, sometimes my brother will beat me or my sister will pour water on me in the morning. Wow. None of those interventions that doctor mentioned saved me. It took herbal medication to save me after 30 years. Wow. Do herbal medications work for stopping bedwetting in adults? This took 30 years.
I have no knowledge about herbal medications. What I know is the orthodox medicines that we use for the children. So I wouldn't say yes or no for the herbal medication, because I don't know much knowledge about the herbal medication. What I know is the orthodox medicines that we use to reduce the amount of urine that the child will produce at night time, which is helpful.
All the herbalists watching us on GTV Breakfast, let us know what kind of herbs you use to deal with bedwetting. I'm very curious about this. Yeah. Anyone?
Yes, more. That's the hashtag I like to see. GTV Breakfast. Thank you, William, for using it. Kwesi Bounds. Good morning, GTV Breakfast. This topic, CAF. I was doing it as old as 16 years. To divine interventions. My parents took me to all the prayer camps and the native doctors in the country, but still, I thank God my 4-year-old boy is not like me. So is it a condition that requires prayer?
When it's happening to you, you are praying. I can tell you that for a fact. You are praying before you go to sleep. When you are dry, you pray. When you wet, you pray. But there's prayer word, really.
Well, prayer. I mean, we are Christians.
Jesus is always the answer.
He's always there to help us. Yes. So prayer is. I'll say prayer is.
It works.
Yes. It is motivational.
Yes,
motivational.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning once again. I'm always telling 2022, let your light shine. Christ in you, thank you. You need Christ. Cap is saying you need Christ if you're dealing with bedwetting. So that's the flyer that we sent, and we send a lot of these to those who are on our mailing list. Perhaps you could request to join on there. It's a breakfast. When is the ideal age to stop bedwetting? Is there an ideal age?
Yeah. When do most children stop?
So I would say most children around 15 years. By 15 years, the percentage is around 2%. So by 15 years, the number really has gone down. And we expect that most children would have
stopped by then. But around 6, 7, would you have had most of the children who are probably...
By 6, 7, it's about 15%.
Okay, have stopped.
Yes, also still bedwetting.
Okay. So it means 85% would have stopped by 6, 7.
By 6.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Then by 15 years, about 2% still bedwetting. So.
Okay, dokes. I think that's all on this side. So I'll just leave the rest back to you.
Okay. Final words, Dr. Siama, on this topic.
So my final words is to the parents: please be motivational.
Yes.
Yes. Don't call the child names. Don't add punitive measures to the child, beating the child and all. It's not very helpful. Be motivational, encourage the child. When a child is dry at night, then give a child a thumbs up. Encourage the child. You can have the star charts or the motivational charts, and give the child some reward. Let's say after a month, you are dry 15 days, you are dry 10 days. Give the child a target, and then give the child a reward when the child meets that target. It's very motivational. It's very helpful for the child.
Thank you.
The child will tend to grow out of the condition.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bright Asiama, pediatrician. He's also with the Pediatric Society of Ghana. We're looking at bedwetting. Very much appreciate the conversation. We've learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes, and one of my colleagues was sharing his experience of how he used to tear danko, up and down if he wet his bed, and all those things were not going to work. In the end, you just stop. And for all the children who are bedwetting, Uncle Kaf was their song, all right? And look at me now, I'm dry. Okay, so your time to go come, all right? Okay, it's gone 7 o'clock. We have conversations on the headlines. And then Thelma, the lady who just dropped the messages, will be having a chat with the Member of Parliament for the good people of Doma Central, Minister of Health, Mr. Ajiman Menu. Will be looking at a whole range of health issues. We want you to send your questions to the Minister on 055-556-1034. We've got some keep an eyes on for you, some rush hours. This is GTV Breakfast, the only place where eyeballs should be glued around this time. My name is Kaf. See you for the headlines in a couple of minutes.
Are we recording? Are we live? Coming live from the capital. This is the Breakfast Show.
Good morning, my neighbors.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant.
Complimentary breakfast?
Off of your plate should be vegetables. So in my lifetime, I haven't seen Ghana Black Stars win an African Cup.
Can I show what is written at the back?
Yes, definitely.
Where's the camera?
Just stand and turn.
So what's your pleasure than Votras, yeah? At that time of the morning. So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
We've got you covered with a trusted team.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votras, yeah? At that time of the morning.
You want it served buffet style? Complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant.
Or room service?
We've got you covered.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
With a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
So we
You have set the pace, you have laid the trail.
Aiko, GPC, Aiko, Aiko, GPC, Aiko. You have set the pace, you have laid the trail. Aiko, GPC, Aiko, GPC, you say, yeah.
Music from Adina. Yeah, and one of my camera guys was saying, listen, if you put 10 ladies down versus 10 men, maybe 90% of the ladies will know how to dance, and 90% of the guys will not know how to dance. Good moves. I was getting some good piano lessons from Valerie. 055-556-1034. We're going for the headlines pretty soon, but the bedwetting conversation brought a lot of messages. I want to read some of them. So this is water in Sogakofe. Sogakofe, say, it's not pe. Sogakofe, like you're blowing on a candle. He says, Kafui, I thought I was the only one who was threatened with the frog. Yeah, in case you missed that story, my grandma threatened to put a live frog around my waist. She says, the next time you will, the next time the fountain operates, the frog will drink the water. So you go to bed and you're thinking, Charlie, there's a frog around my waist? Wow. So he says, I was beaten and labeled as lazy, and as at 15, I occasionally wet my bed. Thank God it stopped. Nice topic, says Walter. And then Walter says, why is it that sometimes you're dreaming that you're walking by the road and you are pressed and you decide to urinate, only to wake up and realize that you're no more by the roadside, but the only thing is that you're doing the stuff on the bed. And all those times it happens like that, it's always a kind of warm feeling, you know. You are relaxed, it's warm, you're peeing, you wake up and then it's cold. It's right on your bed. Nice map of Nigeria or Sudan or whatever. So the bedwetting conversation was a big one, and people were really stressed by that. My case was a very serious one. My mother would sometimes beat me. My sister would pour water on me in the mornings. None of these things worked. He took herbal medication. He says it took him 30 years to get healed from bedwetting. So quite a serious conversation, and I'm glad that we brought it up because a lot of people suffered in silence from it. Those are my messages. Keep them coming in on 055-556-1034. There is a conversation that Thelma will be having with the Minister for Health this morning, Mr. Ajimamenu, and we'll be looking at a wide range of issues, COVID being the main one, of course, because that's what's happening. The numbers are still going up, so kindly make sure that you are observing the protocols and everything is right so we can take care of ourselves. COVID news, I was reading that in Canada, in Quebec, the authorities are contemplating taxing the non-vaccinated because they've done their studies and show that 50% of the disease burden is being produced by people who are not vaccinated. In Greece, they are thinking of taxing the non-vaccinated, the equivalent of $100 a week. So the longer you stay without being vaccinated, you're going to be paying $100. That's about 630 cedis every week. And someone will be asking, how much am I even being paid? All right. So those are issues that we'll be dealing with, COVID issues, vaccination issues, and other health issues. If you want the health minister to answer your questions, please send them to us on 055-556-1034. I'm going to get to my desk right now, and then I'll meet my guests who will be helping me with the conversations on the headlines. My guests, good morning, gentlemen. Oscar Provençal, director. King Kwesi Chedakwa, media, brands, and culture expert. This year, I think it's the first time we're all sitting together around the desk.
That's right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going? Oscar.
How are you?
Ça va?
Ça va bien.
Fantastic. Great. You've been watching the football games? Have you caught any on radio or on television?
I think I watched the Ghana match.
Okay.
And, disappointing, but I still believe there's hope going forward. So let's all put our weight behind the Black Stars, and we pray that they come up with some good results going forward.
Yes. Kwesi, are you a football guy?
Nah.
You don't. What's your sport?
I'm a chess guy.
Oh, okay. All right. Who's your favorite chess player?
Oh, still Kasparov.
Okay,
still
Gary.
Kasparov.
Yeah, Grandmaster Gary.
Yeah.
All right. So you're not.
No. But I saw the opening match, and then I saw a bit of Nigerian match, and I think the Nigerians were brilliant. To think that some of the best players in the team are out, and that they just let their coach go less than a month before the tournament is you know, these people have shown that they want to win it. They are in it to win it. And I think all of Africa has something to learn from the Nigerian performance.
Okay. Awesome.
I think they played the purpose.
Yes.
And sometimes your opponents, I mean, Egypt with, you know, I mean, look at the quality of players.
Yeah.
There. Sometimes you up your game.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
so
That's a good game.
You're not complacent.
Yeah. I love Sierra Leone. I mean, plucky performance. And they held the reigning champions to a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
And their goalkeeper was just awesome.
Yeah.
Plucky performance. The last time they were in AFCON was 25 years ago. So they're doing quite well. All right, great stuff. Let's just dive through the headlines. Ghanaian Times, emergency support for injured police. President launches 6.1 million medical fund. Inaugurates police hospital virtual medical center. The National Labour Commission has invited the University Teachers Association of Ghana over industrial action. Lands Ministry vows to clamp down on illegal activities in the sector. And an update on the Major Mahama murder. The crime scene was not cordoned, says investigator. Social Security and National Insurance Trust increases, the pension payments increased by 10%. And say Black Stars paraphernalia drops. In the Finder, no decision taken to increase transport fares, says the GRTCC. In case you're wondering who they are the GRTCC, the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. All right. First Sky founder urges government to consider 2 sessions of dialysis on the National Health Insurance Scheme. And Tobinco donates almost 4 million cedis. The new headquarters to the Police Professional Standard Bureau is valued at almost 4 million Ghana cedis. Now, the Daily Analyst, workers who earn 365 cedis monthly will not be taxed. And Daily Graphic, 4 key headlines: replacing the aging farm population, 500 youth receive support. They are the first batch. Academic calendar to be out soon, says Dr. Edu Chum, the education minister. Stars coach charges players to work harder. And then Nigeria's Super Eagles shock the Pharaohs. Moses dealt with the Pharaohs 1-0. All right, gentlemen. So these are the headlines. I'm going to dive straight into the stories that I see. So there's a strike action by the university teachers. They announced a strike for Monday. The National Labour Commission has invited them and the government to jaw. I'll give you a couple of details. So the commission has invited the government, UTAG, and all other stakeholders for a meeting today to find a solution to the ongoing strike by the association. The nub of the matter is that the university teachers want their employer, being the government, to just implement a proposal that was put out 2011 that was going to peg the salary of an entry-level PhD holder lecturer at a certain amount. It's equivalent to about 12,000 cedis now. They're not getting that much now. They're getting 5,000 cedis a month. Brand new minted PhD lecturer. So it's a money issue, okay? I'll start with you, Oscar.
Well, I think that normally you would go back to negotiations.
Yes.
You said it was a proposal. Whether the proposal was agreed upon, I'm not aware that the proposal was agreed upon. But they have a case. If there was a proposal that was put on the table, negotiations were taking place. Sadly, the young students are the ones who are going to take the brunt of everything, unfortunately. I just had my youngest boy go into uni. I'm sure he's very excited, and all of a sudden he's hit with his lecturers strike. So we hope that this will be resolved as quickly as possible. Obviously, money markets are going to be a major issue in 2022. And we need to find a way to resolve some of these issues without disrupting, the whole society. And so once they've gone to the commission for resolution, I believe, and I sincerely hope by next week it should be resolved somewhere along the line. We're in this age of consensus building. It's obviously running through everything, and we all have to come together as a nation to recognize that going forward, we're in a very difficult place as a nation. And I think maybe it's about time the authorities start telling us the real situation on the ground, educate Ghanaians about the real situation, in our economy, and the sacrifices we may have to make, and ensure that the wastage that is in the system is reduced to its barest minimum, and so we can accommodate, all the demands that are going to come up possibly in this year.
Thanks a lot. Awesome. Kwesi, is there commitment to pay the formers of the next generation what they are worth? Is that commitment? Are teachers being given their due?
Oh, the simple answer to that is no. And we talk about capacity building. I hear it a lot of times when politicians speak, when people in the private sector and the training sector speak, capacity building, capacity building. The essence of capacity building is to make you better skilled, better tooled to deliver a better service for the people. But it also, when you give a better service, you expect to be better remunerated. So if it is desirable that people who are lecturing in the university go get a PhD, and then, in fact, some are even saying now that if you don't have a PhD, you cannot lecture in the university.
Yes, the universities have that.
Going to get a PhD costs quite a bit of money, and it costs even more time and resources, because the mental resources you need. I'm studying for one, and I tell you, it's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would have a PhD. And so those who don't have a PhD, who have just been called doctor, stop using it. If you're rich, let's call you rich man. Let's let the PhDs be called doctor. Now, if it is true that we say, go get this capacity building so you can be remunerated as such, then we must keep our word, because truly, the only thing every man has to be honorable is his word. So they say there is a proposal, but it's yet to be implemented. The proposal must have timelines and must have a deadline. Now, what are the timelines of the proposal? I hear some organizations saying we're calling government and the teachers to jaw. What were you waiting for all this time? You were waiting for a strike before you called them? You're waiting for the bottom to drop out before you call them? Now, when I talk about the fact that every man has just his word, keep your word. Whoever made that proposal, whoever made that promise, must keep it. But also important is the fact that politeness, punctuality is the politeness of princes. So if you have given somebody a word, be punctual in delivering that word. If not, you're being rude, you're not being polite. Now, come to think of it, when we speak of government, we speak of them as though they're some foreign organizations sat somewhere. Oh my God. They are us. They are us. Government is us. So every person in government is working for us and is one of us, and must see every person who is out of government, who has been made a promise, as themselves. Now, if they were the teachers who have gone to study to get those PhDs, would they be happy that a promise has been made and it's going on how many years now? 1.5 years? 2 years? And it hasn't been kept? There's something wrong somewhere.
The proposal is for 2011.
2011?
Yes.
2011?
Yes.
So 11 years.
It's a long time.
So really, does it mean that once people get into government, they cease to be one of us? Because the proposal is in 2011. Now, when we thought of paying benefits to people in Parliament, or paying ex gratia to, what do you call that group of people?
Article 71.
Article 71 holders. Yeah. Did it take 11 years? So really, there is a disconnect. It's like we really don't care about the people once we get into government. And this goes for the previous administration as well as this one.
Okay. All right, you're watching GTV, and we're looking at the strike action, University Teachers Association of Ghana. So they're going to be meeting today. I'm sure tomorrow, even tonight, we should get some updates on exactly what was discussed over there. If you have a thought on it, let us know. 055-556-1034. If you're a student affected by the action, if you're a lecturer, would love to hear from you. If you are at a National Labour Commission, would love to hear from you as well on this matter. Let's move to something that shocked us a couple of years ago. This was the murder of the late Major Maxwell Mahama. So this case has been dragging on for some years now, and more details are coming out. In today's Ghanaian Times, the investigator, Chief Inspector Samuel Ejakwa, says he is the 14th prosecution witness in the trial, has told an Accra High Court that the crime scene of the late military officer was not cordoned. The crime scene was not cordoned. So 14 persons are standing trial at an Accra High Court over the killing of Major Mahama, who was an officer of the 5th Infantry Battalion, Burma Camp. So they list all the names of the people, and so the story is that the residents of Dentura Obwasi in the Central Region on the 29th of May 2017 allegedly mistook this man for an armed robber and lynched him. They had allegedly ignored his persistent plea that he was an officer of the Ghana Armed Forces. But the Chief Inspector is saying that despite the fact that the crime scene was not cordoned, it was safe because the military and the police were present. Kwesi.
This, I like the fact that they have led with it was not cordoned, as though it was a cocaine story and flour turned into cocaine. I mean, a human being was attacked by other human beings and brutally murdered. Whether it was cordoned or not, the real story has nothing to do with the introduction of somebody's putting some substance on the floor to say, oh, because it wasn't cordoned, we can't be certain that the substance was there. I don't know how this was not cordoned affects this case. My worry is every military officer everywhere in the world, the one who is dead and gone, we worry for, we pray for their family, but every military officer everywhere in the world needs to have some identification of them. In the least or worst case scenario, their dog tag. So that when you are attacked, somebody sees that dog tag and says, hey, munya, munya. So if he had his dog tag, let us make sure that these people who murdered an officer who is supposed to protect us in cold blood go to jail. Face the music. But it was not cordon. What is it?
For you, it's
we are saying it was water and somebody got alcohol to introduce into the crime scene. I don't get it. Sometimes we lead the story with something which is rather insignificant. Think about it. Somebody has been murdered. People actually hit him with stones. There are videos of people holding bricks and slamming it into this man's body and head. And the investigator says the crime scene was not cordoned. Look, all of us went to school. Everybody has their expertise, but for certain things, we must question with common sense. So it wasn't cordoned so they can come to a conclusion about the people who are on video who killed him.
Lots of questions. Thanks, Kwesi. Oscar, it's taking 4 years. This is almost the 5th year.
Is that unusual?
Should it be happening? Because everything was happening on video.
Well, first and foremost, my heart goes out to the family.
Everything was on video. Why should it take 5 years to just finish this case?
Well, I mean, that's the way the law works, unfortunately.
Is it right, though?
I can't say. I mean, it should not be right. I have an experience with the Ghana Actors Guild. We've been in court for 3 years. And we barely just 6 months ago or more just started our main case. So you've been just filing stuff for the past 2.5 years. So that's how the court system works in this country. It should not work like that. But with the story, once again, I'm at a complete loss as to whether the crime scene, I don't don't know the import of what the story is trying to say. Of course, evidence can be tampered with. There's video evidence. There's witness evidence that will be there. But I'm not sure.
Don't you think that?
I'm not sure what the story is really
off this crime scene. I mean, the stuff that was used to brutalize this chap would have been recovered.
Well, the story is not saying nothing was recovered. I don't know how to progress with this, honestly. Are they saying that the crime scene was not cordoned off and therefore they have no evidence, to the crime? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Why does it take so long for justice to be delivered?
Please, I'm not the person.
No, I want your view. I know you're not the Attorney General, but you're a citizen of Ghana.
Yeah, so we should get the Attorney General here
but your
and all the justices here.
Yes, but while we're waiting for that conversation, why is it so?
It's been like this for donkey years.
I have a perspective on that.
It's been like this for donkey years. We said we're going to fast-track court. How many times do you hear of things that go through the fast-track court? I mean, my brother, I'm not an expert on law. I'm not a lawyer. But from the little...
You're an expert on your opinion.
But the little I've been through on basic things, indicate that we haven't moved forward, and somehow it's a game the lawyers play somewhere along the line, and
adjourn.
And yeah, I mean, my brother, when you go through it, you know.
I don't want to go through it.
When you go through it, you know, and you realize that there are all these little tricks that they play to prolong cases.
Technicalities.
I remember there was a story. Somebody said that his father was a lawyer. And then the son also became a lawyer. His father had been working on this case for about 30 years.
Lord.
And the son came and wanted to show the father that
I can kill it.
I can kill it. And he killed the case. Then the father said, "My son, how do you think your school fees were paid over the past 30 years?" You just killed the golden goose.
Lawyers will not be happy this morning.
You just killed the golden goose.
You just killed the golden goose.
Well, the technicalities of the game. So for you, it's a game that they play, really.
Well, I hope not. This is a very serious matter that hit the core of the Ghanaian society. A speedy resolution of this matter should be the most important thing, and also to give relief, obviously, to the families.
Indeed. You wanted to a little bite at this story.
Yeah, I really think that cases get messed up whenever there are political interests. See, I've noticed, working in radio and television for some 37 years, that whenever we need truth, we say, we dear me and find politics. Politics. Which is to say, we accept that when we politicize anything, we don't come to truth. So you also find parliamentarians saying, no, this is about the national interest.
Don't politicize.
Don't do politics with this. And that's usually when they have their personal interest at stake. So everybody thinks their personal interest is the national interest, and anybody who opposes their personal interest is doing politics. I don't think it's the lawyers, really. I think it's the judiciary. Because if the judiciary decides to take cases and handle them with dispatch, we will come to resolutions of cases. I know we have timelines in Ghana clearly that say if you arrest somebody within 48 hours, they should be prosecuted. But I hear all the story with some people from the north where they've been held for more than 48 hours and they're not being prosecuted. It's not right. They may have too much with regards to workload, but, if you are smart, you do your work. There's a woman who carried so much work home. Her kid, who didn't do well at school, asked the woman one day, "Mommy, do you bring so much work home because you're slow? Because everybody finishes their work at school, and I'm slow. That is why I have to come and finish my work at home." So we have capable people. I believe we do. I strongly believe so. So the court system has to work. And if they say it's overloaded, then that's why we need more lawyers So some may become judges and have more courts.
So they should open up the system for more lawyers to be trained. Yes, that's the reason.
One thing leads to the other.
You mentioned truth. I don't think that law is about truth.
Lawyers will not be happy with you this morning.
They don't have to be happy with you.
Yeah. But evidence
it's about evidence. I mean, if a lawyer defends a cocaine dealer or a murderer, and the lawyer knows in his heart of hearts the person is guilty, and he can still find his way
through
a technicality.
It's not truth again.
It's not about truth. But that's the reality. Yeah. You know, I used to have this high idealism, you know, I would love to be a lawyer, and you know, I found it such a noble, you know, that's what we were taught.
Yeah.
But as you grow in life, you realize that the truth has nothing to do with it.
It's just technicalities and
But judges are so important, really, because people say when God goes to sleep, money goes to the world. It's a lie. If God ever takes a nap, it's judges that rule the world.
That's why I was so disappointed that they were being offered goats and sheep.
And if judges would be truthful, and if judges would be honest, and judges would be fair, every society will be better for it.
Indeed. Absolutely. We can all agree on that. 055-556-1034, and your messages will be read pretty soon, and we will know what is on your mind. Remember, we have a date with the Honorable Minister of Health, who will be here to talk about all things health on the next segment after the headlines. My guests are King Kwesi Chedakwa and Oscar Provençal, and you are watching GTV Breakfast, where we understand today that so SNIT, interesting news from SNIT, for those of you who are receiving pensions, watching us in the glorious days of your retirement, SNIT has announced that they have increased pensions by 10%.
Wow.
And so monthly pensions have gone up by 10%. It's called the indexation. It takes effect from January 2022. This means that a pensioner who took a minimum of 300 cedis as a pension last month would now take 332.48. Are you smiling? Announcing the new increment in pension benefits, the Director General of SNIT, Dr. John Ofri Chinkrang, says the increment was done in consultation with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. So everything is going up by around about 10%. Oscar.
There's a deathly silence.
There is a deathly silence. Definitely. Yes.
Well, I suppose that an increment is an increment. Yeah. But I'm not sure whether pensioners are going to be jubilating on their tabletops.
That's a nice image I have there right now. 70-year-old jumping on his table.
Yeah, I've heard stories from close friends whose colleagues, upon opening their pension letters, fainted or had heart attacks. Some have even died. You know, and so when this is a serious matter. You know, and I don't want to juxtapose it against ex gratia. You know, I keep on coming to this point where you see people who have worked for over 40 years in their lives, and they get maybe next to what we would say is nothing, maybe 20, 30,000 Ghana cedis for working over how long? 30, 40 years. And by virtue of being a politician or going to parliament for 4 years, you come away with 400,000, and I hear now going to 550, maybe 600,000 Ghana cedis as gratia. The disparities are incredible, you know. But beyond that, I think that 10%, well, I mean, if you look at inflation and you look at, you know, the prices have gone up. I'm not sure it's going to make a dent in the life of pensioners.
Really because of the low base salaries? Because your pension is not calculated based on the allowances.
And that's
so
where the deception.
Exactly. So you are enjoying the allowances when you are working, forgetting that everything is being connected to your base.
Yes, your basic salary.
If the base is low.
So that's why it's important for workers to be educated properly. You know, and I think a lot of them in the past and going forward, the young ones that are now, you know, working up on their pensions should not fall into that trap. You know, and they should invest wisely, because that pension will never be able to cover their backs at all. At all. Unless you're in the highest, I don't know, I hear the highest pensioner may earn about 1,000 Ghana cedis a month. I don't know how.
I'll find those figures for you.
I don't know how.
Good foundation.
Yes, but we need to find out from people like that how they managed to do that.
Well, they were obviously working where they were well remunerated, and it wasn't all about allowances. It was the base salary. Simple as that. Yeah. Pension blues.
I have great admiration for the man who heads SNIT now, Mr. Tinkrang. I've listened to him speak on television, and in his interviews, I think he's spoken in a manner as to get more people to start paying SNIT contributions, because I don't think we have educated our populace sufficiently about SNIT contributions and its necessity for your old age. In the same way as we haven't educated people sufficiently about citizenship and civics. I feel strongly that at this point in time we need to have citizenship and civics as a subject in both primary and secondary school, so that certain things that every citizen needs to know is taught to them before they turn 16. So it becomes part of us. You know, my father registered me on the SNIT pension scheme when I was young, because I was working for his nightclub. And he told me how needful it is that wherever I am, I pay that little contribution, because fortunes can change. No matter how much money you have made over the years, everything can go just like that. One illness can move you from wealth to nothingness. Now, if I look at the people who are selling roast plantain and groundnuts by the roadside, the people who are selling kiliwili in the evenings, the people who are selling kenke, the people who are selling cloth in the market and plantains, I ask myself, who has gathered them to speak to them about setting aside a certain amount to contribute to SNIT, so that when they turn 60, they don't become a burden on the neighbors or their children, or if they don't have children, they don't become beggars. So when I hear Mr. Tinkrang speak about these things, it really makes me feel like, wow, this man is doing his public affairs job himself. Let's get the education out there so more people can contribute into the kitty, because the more people that can contribute into the kitty for SNIT, the more investments they can make. The more daring investments they can make to get big profits, and then the more nominal investments they can make in the likes of the Labadi Beach Hotel, the Golden Beach Resorts, because all those are owned by SNIT, really. So that the monies they earn from there can come to pay our salaries in future. And let's make this very clear. I mean, France is looking at extending the pension age, because they're realizing if the young people don't have work to contribute to the pension scheme, there will be no money to pay the old people, because people are living longer.
Yeah.
I mean,
the US is 65.
I am praying that my parents will live to maybe 120, because if they're in good health, they have their homes, they can still see their great-grandchildren. Now, if young people don't have jobs, so they can contribute into that kitty, the investments that SNIT makes will not be enough. And that brings me to my second point. The board of SNIT must cease to be political cronies. It should start to be people who can look at due diligence and say, this investment is worthless. Because some of the investments of SNIT, and if you ask the Director General of SNIT, he will tell you this, are not bringing benefits. You know, you're taking my money as a contributor, and you're putting it into an investment which is frivolous. I want you to put it in investments that don't merely create jobs, but also bring money. So when I'm old, some of that money can come to pay me. The 10% is good, I'm happy to hear it. And I'm hoping that in the next 5 years we'll hear of maybe another 10%. But the man has done quite a bit of work to be able to get it where it is at the moment.
All right, and I'll just end on some figures. So last year, SNIT paid a total of 3.65 billion cedis as pensions. So if it's going up by 10%, yeah, go figure. It's over 4 billion this year that will be amassed and paid out to the people who have spent 30, 40 years of their lives contributing to the development of the country. We are diving into our news headlines. Hello.
You know they told what they paid? I wish they would also tell us what they collected.
Good question. Good question. 055-556-1034. Messages from you watching us to be delivered by Thelma, and then after that we'll have a keep an eye with Valerie. But Thelma.
Yep. So this is quite interesting. Good morning, gentlemen. Yesterday, an awesome resource team, especially Mr. Oscar, a.k.a. Inspector Bediako, should be assigned on the late Mahama case to fish out and smoke out the killer. So that's really funny. So that's a fictional character, but he's proven to be quite the inspector at the panel, hasn't he? SNIT has done well, but additional increment would be appreciated. Lovelace is telling us that from Mataiko. Someone is asking what you're holding, KKD. Curious guest. Good morning. Thank you for what you're doing. One aspect of the health sector that is dwindling is primary care. Physician assistants who man these areas are not well remunerated. So these are stuff that we'll be looking into in our conversation with the health minister. I'm trying to fish out the stuff that has direct bearing on what you've been talking about here. Perhaps I'll go to my WhatsApp stream, but you can send your comments coming in our WhatsApp number 05555-61034. Probably the crime scene captured for our view on Major Mohammed's murder is a different video. If not, I don't think it should take more than a day to put those perpetrators behind us when we have clear evidence. I believe something should be done in our judicial and legislative systems. Good morning, BFS. Good morning to you too. It's sad that UTAG members should go on strike, according to our texter here, before their needs are met. If we are broke as a country, sacrifices must be made by all. How come our MPs continue to take massive ex gratia after every 4 years? Yao is asking this in Accra. Let's see what Yao is saying. Well, that's your opinion. Let's see what more messages we can get. Minority MPs in Parliament should stop their hypocritical behavior and concentrate on the reasons why their constituents sent them there. That's your opinion. I'm trying to see if I can get a bit more diverse views. SIM card registration, we've talked about that. So send your messages across to us. Our WhatsApp number is still very active. I'm trying to navigate to perhaps our WhatsApp, our Facebook interface. SNIT increases pension by 10%. Government increases salaries of active workers by 7%. Illogical to say the least. Justice is saying this from Achim Sredro. Thank you for sending your comments across to us. Let me reiterate, comments sent to us by persons watching our program represent their own views and not the views of GBC or any of its affiliates. So have your say, but we'll cross-check and verify. Kaf, back to you in the team, and I'll navigate to the Facebook stream, and then I'll get you what people are saying on our Facebook stream live right now. Kaf, we should be paid. Someone is sending you a shout.
Well, they said I should be paid well to maintain this standard of breakfast. I am being paid well. What's your problem? Thank
you for sending those messages.
I like the permutation. They say the active workers got a 7% increase, and then those who are on retirement got 10%. But well, maybe those on retirement need those resources even more than the active ones. Who knows? I don't know. We need to bring in an actuarial scientist to let us know what goes into these permutations. But thank you very much, Thelma. Very much appreciated.
There's a little part
on GTV. My name is Kafui. My guests are Oscar Provençal and Kwesi Cheda. Kwesi, you're saying something?
There's a little bit that I was hoping you would add. So active workers percentage, pensioners percentage, and then inflation rate percentage.
You get that?
You know, that would make it complete.
Okay, nice one. Let's just switch over to the other side of the studio where Val is waiting to validate some news. I just have to do something with that.
Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to this side. So on Monday, we were at the Mankasim runabout. Alan was actually stationed there, and he's still there. But this time, 250 meters away from the runabout, we are looking at a landfill site that's close to stores, food vendors. Alan will give us the details on that. I hear we understand it's a potential health risk, and so Alan is going to give us the full details pretty shortly. Good morning, Alan.
Hi, good morning, Valerie. How are you this morning? Welcome once again to the Kingdom of Mankasim. As I mentioned earlier on Monday, I am presently standing right by the market. It's a market day today, and so you find activities up here is a bit more of highly spirited. Indeed, when you exit the roundabout, as I mentioned, coming in from Accra, the first exit will take you towards Edumako. The second exit goes westward towards Cape Coast. Indeed, to the right of that is the market. And prominent in the market, or some of the landmarks you see in the market, is the now defunct Group Indom Bank, GN Bank, seated there. It is the Central Regional Hub, I understand. Right next to it is where we are focusing our attention this morning. And what you can see currently in your short, as I've turned my camera, pan my camera around, it's a landfill site. This landfill site is slowly becoming a threat to traders and people who live close by. Indeed, what you can see right next is someone's store, and next to that is a food vendor. This has a pile of the rubbish having come all the way towards the street. In fact, it is slowly encroaching the pedestrian walk by the road. It is rather unfortunate to think that in such a pile of rubbish you will find springing up a three-story structure. And this story structure, I am told, belongs to one of the top guys around here in Mankasim. My contact told me how this property owner has slowly become one of the untouchables. Interesting to note that also this structure sits in what is more of a waterlogged land. And you would imagine that for a waterlogged land, the assembly or the a local authority will allow such a structure to spring up right next to it. In fact, it is seated in the middle of the rubbish. And this rubbish has other uses to people around here. Some of the traders I spoke to earlier told me how some young men in the neighborhood has turned that into an open defecation spot. So apologies to people having their breakfast this morning, but in the distance as I zoom in is a young man squatted, getting himself sorted, openly defecating by the rubbish. You have a few other young men who are standing in the rubbish with some animals. Only God knows what they're foraging for. But this is the situation at the Mankasim market, where a pile of rubbish has become a health hazard. I spoke to a few of the market women, and so I'm going to go back and speak to some of them, and they explained painfully how the assembly member, the DCE, and the MP for the area all drive past. In fact, if you really need to understand where I am, as you head out from Mankasim towards Cape Coast, the market is right to your right hand side. That is exactly where I am. I am going to be speaking to this market trader who agreed to speak to me earlier. Man came Martin. Mpocha put then.
Yamina do Mpocha wo say.
Mpocha Yamina do mudasi pide yen kasa wa GTV do.
Okay.
Mpocha bole no ho asem na da ma me di kan ya kan no. Mpocha bo me mu kakra otedan.
Mpocha bole ne ze. It's a Saturday GFA. Monday yababa na wo de gu ha abaka.
Abaka kwan na no.
Abaka headache. No we there. Ye pia kwa de to mo so. In for Mankesi when we tried that have a look. This one kasa we be a ticket. This one kasa MP we there was born look. DC when now when that was born look. This can one kasa we to buy the yababa no anya papa we de gu ha. E kaka pet na ya some to ball and it.
Wana promise some so nusu wakana.
I don't tell my yalaba. Well, and you deserve once money can sit down. About the Suez bando. Now, my yalaba.
Ibad na mo assemblyman. Wayene in Katsas and Kakade. Ambassador Yahoo.
I don't know on pa. It's one thing to me. It's a band and another day is soon.
Sa mo ha wo twa mo ticket no e na mo ya da mo ka mo ho abom na wa hye da ma di we hu di
ticket from the papa one brother one wife from brother one ka one ya sure one da na wa ba no
madawasi pi de yin kasa o GTV do yami insure. So as I flip my camera around once again to take a look at the rubbish. Valerie, that's the situation out here at the Mankasim market. Indeed, as I mentioned, it's a market day, and so life is a bit of a upbeat out here. Right, and so Val, this is what the situation looks like at the Mankasim market. Traders trading right beside refuse dump. And other community members converting the dump into an open defecation area. And so in terms of their health, there is really and truly a ticking time bomb. This has been Keep an Eye coming to you live from the Mankasim market. Thank you very much. Back to you in the studio, Valerie.
Yes. And so that was Alan who came to us from, I don't know whether I should call it filthy, dirty, but a very, very dirty environment. And we saw food vendors, we saw people selling clothing bags. There are more questions than answers. Well, the hashtag to follow is GTV Breakfast. So I'm going to hand over to Kaf and Egedi and Oscar. They are discussing what's trending on the headlines, and I'm sure they're going to discuss what we just kept an eye on. Kaf, back to you.
Yes, I think thank you very much, Valerie. I think I'll start with Oscar. So you were in this space where you dealt with issues of waste management. What really surprised you in your work with respect to attitudes around waste management in Ghana?
Well, there's a lot of apathy. There's a lot of indiscipline that surrounds the space. Of course, there's also a lack of logistics, and obviously there's a very low supervision of the space. Fortunately, that has improved quite considerably since the advent of Zoomlion and a lot of the work that has been done by them. And I think that situations like what we saw, I mean, it's been categorized as a landfill site. Obviously, it's not an engineered landfill site. Maybe we should have had a discussion with those who are managing the site, and we'll know whether it is indeed a site where, trucks come and actually dump, or it's just a heap community dump site that has just developed due to the lack of indiscipline on the logistics. But definitely, the Municipal Assembly should be answering to this. I mean, this is a health hazard, and waiting to break out some unfortunate disease. And if you see people are going to be selling food and items close by, and it looks very close to the roadside as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this should not happen in, you know, after all these years that we've been discussing about, you know, waste management and all of that. So I would like really to speak to the municipal, you know, authorities on why this has happened, and pray that whoever has oversight responsibility takes immediate action to ensure that that site is cleared and maintained cleared.
Okay.
There's no point clearing sites and coming back the next day and, you know, gone back to square one.
All right, thanks, Oscar. Kwesi, you grew up in arguably Ghana's finest planned community in Tema.
You want to put in the trouble today?
Yeah, no. How was Tema managed when you were growing up?
Tema was managed by a business called TDC, Tema Development Corporation. And when I was growing up, I was born and raised in Tema actually, so my parents came from Adansi to a place called Site 17, because back in those days, I mean, the reason why everybody wanted to work for government was because of housing. If you worked for government, you got housing. And my father worked for the Electricity Corporation when he was a young man, and found that people who were working there would suffer when it came to their pension. So by the time he was 28, he had started his own businesses whilst working for the corporation, did a great job, and then left. But what TDC had was something we called town council officers, or town council inspectors. And the local name for these people was tankas.
Which is town council, yeah.
Good. Now, if these people came to your home and there was any rubbish, even inside your home, you could get summoned and you could go to court.
Is that the summer they talked about?
Yeah, best summer, right?
I hear they're relaunching.
And you didn't want, you see, you didn't want anybody in the community to hear that you had been summoned. It's a shame.
Yeah, stigma.
Stigma. So you needed to keep your home clean. When you finished cooking, you needed to clean the pots. Even the ash. You know, if you wanted to maintain the fire for another day, you clean the whole area and put it away neatly. And then a phenomenon came called a Ashaiman. And a Ashaiman had these shanty spaces all around it. There are beautiful buildings in Ashaiman. There is an international school in Ashaiman. But then it became a permissive community where people could just ease themselves in the bushes. And people who came from everywhere who had no place to stay could make their own shanty little space. And once they got used to living that way, when eventually they raised enough money to go rent a place to stay, they continued living like that. Now, I say cleanliness is next to godliness. Most of these people go to church or go to the mosque. So if they are godly, how come they cannot be clean? Now, I blame the mayors. The mayors have a job to do. Everybody talks about municipal assembly, metropolitan assembly. Who is the mayor? I will always remind us, the fish was from the head. If the mayor is clean and wants to oversee a clean society, he must use the staff that government has given him to first and foremost maintain a clean space for people and then maintain a secure space for people. So every mayor has the power to go to Parliament to seek for something as simple as this. For every home, for every office, for every selling space, whoever is resident or whoever is the owner of the business, you are responsible for the 10-foot or 10-meter radius, depending on the areas.
Okay.
You are responsible for the 10-foot or 10-meter radius. If we see any dirt in that area, you are the one who will be summoned. And people will start going to court, and people will start getting fined, and people will be made to sweep the streets of Accra. This is the only way we're going to change it.
That's the way to go.
Why do we have a mayor who we pay a salary? And yesterday evening, I had to work with my tailors. So I drive to a space where I want to park, and people have moved their goods onto the street. And I'm thinking, do we have a mayor? They are actually selling in the street. And they have connected illegal connections of lights all over the community one area.
They're working.
But there is a mayor
exactly
who has a free house, has a good car, has security, and I'm thinking, is he working? Or is he appointed because he's the son of the gods and they say, oh, Tamales and you can have Ganyu? No. People should work.
People should work.
Mayors are not working.
Mayors are not working. If you're a mayor,
all mayors,
let me know. All right, 05555561034. Still to come, a conversation that Thelma will be having with the Minister for Health, Mr. Kwaku Ajima Menu. He's right here, live on a GTV breakfast. Let's do some agri news here. Daily Graphic: we are replacing the aging farmer population. So 500 youth have received support. They are the first batch. And an initial batch of 500 youth farmers, processors, and agri-tech developers across the country being supported to use tech and other innovative ways to engage in small farming. So this is coming under the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. And the program is going to support and train the youth in modern agri to help them generate incomes to meet their personal and business needs. It's called Youth in Innovative Agriculture. This should be great news because I saw some statistics which showed that we are relying on old farmers for food to feed the nation. This must be some good news. Oscar, if it's managed well, this should provide some hope for.
Well, definitely good news in the right direction. Yes, I think that the perception out there is that, it's old people who are doing farming. But I think the young ones are getting to recognize, the opportunities that are there in the agricultural space.
Yeah.
Once they're provided with the right incentives, the right logistics. And then we also have to look at the end of the day, look at throughout the whole value chain. But if we don't stop Ghanaians from patronizing or minimize them patronizing foreign products, we're still going to get into this area where you're going to go into agro-based business, you're going to add value, you're going to produce a mango juice or you're going to produce an orange juice, and we're still going to have major competitive issues with imports, and even Ghanaians patronizing made in Ghana. And I think for me, for the success of the agri sector has more to do with the attitude of Ghanaians in that space of consuming made in Ghana products. Yeah. And whatever can be done, of course, we all know that we may not have the capacity to meet, the competitive nature of foreign products in terms of packaging and all of that. But if we go into this patriotic space where we say to ourselves, I would prefer to buy made in Ghana, irrespective of what the price differential will be, irrespective of what the Ghana packaging will be, because this is about nation building.
To the nation.
Let's move into that space as Ghanaians. Sometimes I've never bought a shoe polish in my life. The reason being is that I'm looking for a shoe shine boy who I know is suffering out there, and I can contribute to his well-being if I patronize him. If I buy a shoe shine, it's been brought in by some Lebanese man somewhere, the money will go somewhere else. But I'm looking for that local boy to be able to benefit. So
support local business.
Yeah, support local business as much as you can.
Okay, great. Change the mindset, and so that this can succeed. Just give you a couple of details before I get to Kwesi's submission. So this Youth in Agri support involves financial support ranging between 20,000 and 200,000 cedis per beneficiary. And these are loans that are repayable within 3 to 5 years at a rate of 10% per annum, so significantly lower than what the banks would be giving you. Kwesi, time for younger people to get into the business of farming.
What did the headline say?
It says 500 youth receive support to get into agri, and they are replacing the aging farmer population.
Yeah, I like the way they said replacing the aging farmer population.
But they'll die.
Yeah, no.
The young people will come.
That's all right. It's all right. But, you see, we have to be wary of the way we use words, especially as journalists, whether they're writers or speakers, because when we go into the narrative of despising age, farming at this point in our lives is not about brawn, it's about brain. The wealthiest farmers in the world are old people who have employed technology and employed brains more than resources. So it's good that we're getting some young people to come in to join the old ones. Because you see, the old ones have some institutional knowledge which these young ones are not going to get for the next 3 years. We need to have some old ones there, and they're going to be the ones that own the biggest farms, whether it's Kellogg's or whether it's Bill Gates or whatever. They are going to own the biggest farms. We need as many old people in there till they die, and we need to get young people coming in, because we must remember, experience is gallant. Experience is no substitute for genius. But experience without talent is meaningless. But are these old people that are in farming experienced with talent or not? If they're experienced with talent, let's keep them till they die, and let's get some more young people to join. And as for his call for us to buy Ghana, it's something we've been doing for years. I mean, even when I go to buy clothing, I would look out for Joe Kesley Hayford, I would look out for Oswald Boateng, I would look out for, what's his name, Clarence Clotte. However, the poor man with limited resources does not have the luxury of saying, I'm looking for made in Ghana. He's looking for what is good that I can afford.
That's it.
It's just that simple.
Indeed.
So let us make good things that are affordable.
Good things that are affordable.
I think we should also recognize we're not the only country that is faced with this challenge.
Yes.
Even in America. Most of the farming happens in the rural areas, and you see this migration of the young people moving away from agri.
Yeah.
They had to mount a whole campaign to get the intentional campaign, strategic campaign, to get the youth back into agriculture. What we're seeing are things are being rolled out, but they're not being rolled out with that, intentional campaign.
Well, this is part of the Ghana Cares
to see that
program.
visible campaign.
Yeah.
And you see, because changing mindsets is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing at all.
Yeah.
And the perceptions that the youth have against agriculture is very strong, very deep.
They need to be molded.
And so we need to see a public, spirited campaign that can bring the youth.
Okay.
It's not good enough to just roll out,
it.
initiatives and stuff like that. It has to be back.
And to remember that what pays multiplies.
What pays?
Nobody has to go and tell people to go study law or to study medicine.
Yeah. What pays will multiply.
If it pays,
it multiplies.
It will multiply.
Let's wrap this up with Keep an Eye. That's the one from Valerie. Valerie, where are we going right now?
This time we are staying right in Accra. We are going to the Accra Rehabilitation Center. We are looking at people who are visually impaired and their access to ICT. And so our guy Jay is at the Accra Rehabilitation Center. He'll be speaking to some resource persons and will tell us how the persons who are visually impaired have access or are getting access to ICT. And Jay, good morning. So this is an awkward looking photo.
Good morning, Valerie. Good morning, everyone. It's welcome. It's still hashtag GTV Breakfast. Welcome to this edition of Keep an Eye. So this morning, World Braille Day is a day celebrating the birth of Louis Braille, the founder and inventor of Braille, the language for the blind. It's also a day that acknowledges the fact that visually impaired persons have also access to fundamental human rights just as everyone else. And speaking of human rights, this morning I'm at the Accra Rehabilitation Center at the Ghana Blind Union, to be precise, here to speak with the executive director of the union, and he will tell us the link between Braille and ICT, and of course how integral World Braille Day is for them. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So when we say World Braille Day, how significant is the day for you?
Okay, World Braille Day actually marks the birth of Louis Braille, 1909 and 4th January actually, but we choose to celebrate it today. Now, this celebration, we look at Braille as a tool for accessing information. And you know that is crucial to a blind person for purposes of education, for purposes of employment, and for purposes of just access to the general information like laws and other reading material that is available for everybody else. So Braille for a blind person or for us who are visually impaired is a very significant tool, and it's something that we always wish to draw light on, so I will never forget the importance of Braille.
Okay. I see you holding a book in your hand. Yeah.
This is actually the Gaiety report from ASEP. That's Africa's Center for Energy Policy, and it talks about taxes and income tax and how they collect the money and responsibilities of the various departments. You know, this kind of information was previously out of our grasp, but now it's in Braille. So I can take my time, go home, and use my fingers to read it. And let me explain that Braille is a system of 6 dots, and the positioning of any of these dots gives us what the alphabets are. So then by noting their positions, we are able to piece together words and sentences.
So nowadays you realize technology has come a long way for us. We have a lot of things happening. For instance, social media, WhatsApp and all that. So when it comes to technology, between Braille and technology, how accessible is it for you when it comes to technology?
Yeah, let me just say this thing. That's a very good question, actually. Let me just say, Braille is not mutually exclusive to technology. Actually, Braille has a role. It has a place in technology. So we have things like electronic Braille and things that you can access documents and hook onto your laptop, and we can still read those things in Braille. But you see, the principle of Braille is to enable blind or partially sighted persons to access technology, to access information. And with technology, we still carry on this principle. So now we can use ICT to access books online. You can work with other non-blind persons, share information more readily and more easily, and you have a whole world open, and that enhances education. You go to universities today, a lot of the students there use ICT because then it puts them on the same playing ground as their their counterparts. And now, and this year, for example, a lot of blind students in SHS were able to use computers to write their WASI exams. You see, so there's progress with technology, but I want to emphasize that it is the basic principle that Braille has brought about. That is access to information, and that is what technology has come to enhance. And so, yes, we hold technology now. We have moved on. What technology has done for us is that although Braille is the basic and Braille is the beginning, what technology has done is to give us more options so that I don't only have to read Braille, I can decide to use digital or use my laptop or computer or even decide to use audio. So depending on whatever form of I want to use to access technology, I have that option. But it's the basic principle that Braille has brought about.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are wrapping up the conversation, and I'd just like to ask concerning Braille Day and anything else, if you have any final remarks for us, briefly, if you could just do that.
I can say Braille has brought access to technology, access to information, but let's not limit everybody to Braille. Okay, even Braille is good. We live it and we hold these principles, but we're in the modern world, so let's try and use technology to even use electronic Braille or use other forms of ICT to reach out and communication. The basic thing is communication, and the basic thing is access to information. So if we communicate and we have access to information, I think we'll be in a better place. So I appeal to the government, make ICT more available and relevant to all the school children at the various levels, and also employers to equip their employees who have visual impairment with the skills so that we can access information and communicate. And by so doing, we'll build a proper and total listen. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. So that was Dr. Obin Asamoah. He's the Executive Director of the Ghana Blind Union, speaking to us concerning World Braille Day, access to information, access to technology. This is what we have for you. For Keep an Eye this morning, back to you, Val, in the studio.
Thank you, Jay. So that was Jay, who came to us from the Accra Rehabilitation Center, and he spoke to the president on World Braille Day and how persons living with vision impairment are getting access to ICT. I'm still going to hand over to Kaf and the gentleman to probably wrap up the headlines session.
Thank you very much, Valerie. And that brings us to the end of our conversation. Just closing remarks from Kwesi.
Well, it is our prayer that our mayors will see their jurisdictions, the towns, the villages, the communities that they oversee as their home, as their extended home, and keep them clean and safe for us all. And if they don't want to do the job anymore, they should go to the president and tell the president that you elevated me to a position which is much higher than me. Please let somebody else continue.
King Kwesi Chekdakwa, who can't continue beyond this point because the segment is over. Media, brands, and culture expert. Thank you so much. Oscar, your final words.
What do you want me to say after that?
No, just your concluding remarks. You don't have to even say anything.
What I'd love to see, I think there's an event taking place at UPSA or something in regards to the Constitution, reviewing the Constitution.
It's on the 14th.
It's on the 14th or so. This is something that I think needs to be not just a one-day affair. It's something that needs to, be center of,
top of mind, right?
Yes, and also beyond that, just taking this country as a whole. We need to move this country from point A to point B in the next 10, 15 years.
Awesome.
Whether it's real national development planning, whatever it is, we need to put it on the table. Look at our politics, look at all the various variables that are in there, and see how we're going to move this nation for a better Ghana for all of us. All this polarization and all this, ad hoc stuff that every 4 years or every 8 years policies are turned over, education is, restructured. It's not helping us. So I think we have to have a conversation as how to move this nation forward collectively as one Ghana.
I could put it more eloquently. Gentlemen.
As for the mayors.
Thank you very much, Oscar Mansal and King Kwesi Chekdakwa. That's our conversation on the headlines. Coming up next is a conversation that Thelma will be having with the Minister for Health, Mr. Kwaku Ajiman Menu, MP. And we'll be looking at everything from COVID to all health matters. 055-556-1034 is our WhatsApp number. That conversation happens right after this short break. You're watching GTV Breakfast.
Give me good soup on a Sunday, yeah. Follow for you on the first day. Remember you're dimmy nice one, yeah. Oh, you change my girl home for a while. Oh, you change my girl home for a while.
Coming live from the capital. This is the Breakfast Show.
Morning, my neighbor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast. Not just any breakfast. Sizzling healthy.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant.
Complimentary breakfast?
Off of your plate chicken vegetables. So in my lifetime, I haven't seen Ghana Black Stars win an African Cup.
Can I show what is written on the back?
Yes, definitely.
Where's the camera?
Just stand and turn. So what's your pleasure than Botras, yeah? At that time of the morning. So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
We've got you covered with a trusted team.
Good morning. It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling helping.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votras at that time of the morning?
You want it served buffet style, complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant?
Or room service?
We've got you covered.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
With a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
So we
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show. Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Them people when I turn, they go yab me. Alright, tell me what them day. Run on the hustle how they try sustain. Every Saturday, from Ilajet down to
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling helping.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant?
Complimentary breakfast?
Half of your plate should be vegetables. So in my lifetime, I haven't seen Ghana Black Stars being an African.
Yeah. Can I show what is written on the box?
Yes, definitely.
Where's the camera?
Just stand and turn.
So what's your pleasure than Votras at that time of the morning? Thanks for staying on. It's still Breakfast Live on GTV, made possible by Adonko Next Level Energy Drink, Awake Purified Water, and Lufat. Thank you for sponsoring the health check. This one we've had many conversations. Now we are settling into an exclusive with the head of Ghana's Health Ministry and so as the world deals with the COVID-19 pandemic, the issues of health have dominated headlines across the globe. To say that the world was unprepared for COVID-19 is perhaps an understatement. It exposed major lapses in our approach to health and the healthcare systems in general. Even the developed countries felt the toll, and they carried a heavy burden of COVID-19 on their healthcare systems, especially in developing countries and almost underdeveloped countries, mostly in Africa. We saw the toll that it's taken on health systems. In Ghana, we are operating on 3-tier levels, national, regional, and district levels of health. And today we have the leader of that brigade in studio to tell us about
what our healthcare system is at the moment and the plans to make things better. Government have so many plans to improve the lot of Ghanaians health-wise. How are those plans translating into reality? At the table this morning, I have the Honourable Minister for Health, the Honourable Kwakwajiman Menu. He is also MP for Doma Central. Honourable, good morning and welcome to the table.
Good morning.
We are talking about COVID-19 and the world's collective fight against the pandemic. Millions of cases have been recorded, millions of deaths have been recorded nationwide. This morning in Ghana, our active cases stand at 11,403, making the total confirmed cases 152,243, 650 new cases, 1,332 deaths, and recoveries, of course, 139,508. Where this is what the dashboard is telling us this morning, Honourable, and we'll get back to you to seek your thoughts on what these numbers mean to our collective fight, and if there are any plans to bring these numbers down a bit further, we'll interrogate those plans as well. I encourage you to follow our Facebook stream. We're streaming live on Facebook. We are also streaming live on YouTube. You can send your questions across. The Honourable Minister is here to our WhatsApp number 055-55-61034. And I'll get straight into the conversation. Minister, we are seeing the numbers, especially from before the Christmas holidays, how they went steadily, almost about 15,000 at some point, almost 14,000 before the new year. And we saw how the numbers sharply increased, especially in the heat of the Christmas festivities. And many were concerned that perhaps we let our guards down. Was that the plan, to let all the festivals go on and let all the festivities happen as usual?
Thank you very much. We actually didn't let our guards down. We detected that numbers had started going up at the airport, and we knew that people were going to come into the country. Our checks indicated that about a week or two to Christmas, almost all flights coming into Accra were fully booked, and so we're preparing ourselves against the importation of these viruses. Now, just around that same time, Omicron hit, and so we got a new variant, and scientists didn't actually know exactly how it was going to manifest itself. And unfortunately, Ghana was about the first few countries that detected, and we got the first 6 cases, and we started panicking. Those were first actually at the forefront of the battle.
Because within 24 or 48 hours, it had gone up to 41.
Right. And so we had actually prepared against Christmas, and we're doing all that we could. Remember, we added on to our normal protocols and the type of things we were doing, the vaccination campaign. So we actually declared December as a vaccination month, saying that we could whip up and scale up advocacy and mass communication strategies to make sure that a lot of people vaccinated.
Did that work?
It did. We got a large number of people registering in December alone as compared to previous months when we were actually doing vaccinations. It worked. But then when we started getting cases from outside with Omicron detection, we just couldn't control the numbers actually increasing. Now it's on record that Omicron spreads as quickly and more severe than all the other variants that we have seen, Alpha, Delta, whatever you can call it. And so we were caught up as part of the global pandemic.
The experts were telling us that it was more transmissible, but not as severe as perhaps Delta and earlier variants of the virus have been.
That is correct.
And that's why people were surprised that the large numbers were allowed to congregate at concerts, at festivals, and at other events during the festive season.
If you look at the impact of COVID and the lockdowns and the restrictions, it has had a toll on our economy, massive toll on our economy. And people are shouting, things are difficult, things are that. Prices have gone up. Anytime you lock down, you stop economic activity entirely. Look at our country. 2 months lockdown, up to even today, some companies, banks, they do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, reduce their numbers so that they cut down the spread and make sure that their people are healthy. So fancy a whole system, 1 whole year. We are working 6 months. What happens to the economy? Productivity goes down, income generation goes down, tax revenues don't come, and government is at.
So it was more.
So we're looking at balancing the economy and the spread of the disease. So we couldn't continue massive restrictions. We just had to ease with a lot more advice on protocols and things like that. And especially when we started vaccinations, we were advocating that if you get the vaccine, you might get the virus, get infected, but your situation might not be very severe. It won't cause a lot of hospitalizations, it won't cause a lot of deaths. And therefore we looked at all these challenges and said that let us do those things with restrictions. In fact, if you listen to my press conference we did sometime in December on vaccines, whipping up interest to let people vaccinate, we were even talking that during Christmas, family gatherings, you should be inspecting vaccination cards within your families to make sure that everybody who joined you is
but
vaccinated.
in a lot of places that did not happen. Was there a monitoring system? Because I'm curious about what the actual statistics would be, if there is any.
The
to
plan
show
we
that
had
the
was said that at gatherings, if people hadn't got vaccination cards, we set up vaccination centers for people living to vaccinate at gatherings. My party had a conference just around December. And we made sure that all the delegates that were coming had been vaccinated. We gave them adequate notice. That was a huge gathering. And we set up the vaccination center, just close by for people to vaccinate, to be able to actually get back home with vaccination. So we did a lot. And let me be very honest with you. Sometime in 2021, WHO assessment was picking up countries who got it right. And Ghana and South Korea were the countries that were picked with COVID management. So we did so well, so much well.
We'll talk about the vaccination in a bit more detail, but with this new variant of COVID-19, which it's been named Omicron, have we had time to study it now? Because I think it's been a few weeks, and apart from scientists telling us that it's more transmissible, what's the actual plan to beat that particular variant? Is it the same as Delta and the others, or are we going to see a change? Are we seeing a change in the plan?
I don't think we are seeing so much change in the plan. Our response initiative that we started with are still in place. We are easing gradually and slowly, but we've added on the vaccinations, and our only sure bet now are the massive numbers that we want to vaccinate. If we do, things wouldn't be as bad as it was in the second and third waves that we had in our country.
There was an agenda to get 20 million Ghanaians vaccinated by December. That deadline was not met. What are stand now on vaccinations? What's the percentage of the population that have had it? And when should we expect this 20 million target to be hit?
We have so far vaccinated close to about 9 million people. We're expecting that by the end of March, all things being equal, we might have hit that percentage. 6.6 million out of the 9 million had actually had 2 doses, and 6.6 million had had 1 dose, and then 2.9 million have had 2 doses. And we are working on. Now, we couldn't get to our 20 million because for nearly 5 or 6 months, we didn't have vaccines in our stores. We're relying on vaccines from India. And when Delta hit India, they stopped export of all vaccines coming from India. And at the time, that was our only sure bet. We are relying so much on WHO and the Gavi initiative of COVAX. COVAX was going to give us a lot of vaccines. We had done all the arrangements, even ordered the portion that they were going to actually sell to us. Fortunately, all supplies stopped. And between March ending and August, we couldn't have vaccines at all. So our vaccination program was disrupted completely. Our projections in August actually came true, and we started receiving vaccines in August. And from August to now, we have been receiving vaccines almost every week. Of late, how do I call it? Each other day, we receive some quantities of vaccines. And the world had actually put pressure on countries that were stockpiling, and they are donating some of these vaccines through COVAX to us. Ghana actually ordered to procure close to 17 million vaccines from the African Vaccine Acquisition Trust. That was an initiative by the African Union. Our leaders did that for us. And it started with Johnson & Johnson. Now they are doing almost all the vaccines. And that is what is giving us a lot of vaccines. We have supplied close to about 4 million out of what we have actually procured. But we keep on getting from friendly countries, from COVAX itself, through COVAX initiative. And now we have close to over 12 million vaccines that we are grappling with to see how we can get our people vaccinated.
What's the shelf life for these vaccines? And I'm asking this because we've seen the hesitancy that people have shown towards getting vaccinated, and the concern is how long can we keep the vaccines here until we would have to dispose of them?
It depends on what type of vaccine you are taking. We get some vaccines with only 2 months expiry time because they stockpile, and when it's getting close to expiry, they may ship them here. We have had causes of rejecting some vaccines because of expiry dates. But all vaccines should last for not less than 6 months, and we get vaccines lasting 4 months, 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, and if it's anything less than 1 month. Initially, when we didn't have vaccines, remember the president went to Germany, and they donated 1.5 million vaccines for us. When they got here, we had about 3 or 4 weeks for it to expire. So we mobilized our vaccinators and kept those that had a longer period to expire in our stocks and started using that. That was where we got about 12,000 in Volta region expiring. But we did almost 1.5 million, less 12,000, which was quite good. Our projections indicate that for such mass vaccinations, you budget to lose about 5% of the vaccines that receive. So we were within our projected vaccine losses, and I think that was good for us.
So I listened to a speech that you delivered at the 74th World Health Assembly in Geneva in May, and the World Health Organization was meeting with its stakeholders around the world to speak about how to end the pandemic. And I remember the theme was ending the pandemic, preventing the next one, and building a healthier, safer, fairer world. I think that was. And there were 3 key areas that you touched on in that speech, talking about equitable access to COVID-19 tools, preparedness for future emergencies, and then universal health coverage, referencing the significant gaps in the current global and national healthcare systems. So we've talked about the vaccination and the fact that some of the vaccines have come in, but a threat to equitable access to the vaccines is the hesitancy and the unwillingness of persons to accept the vaccines. How has that affected that particular drive? Because people have all these misconceptions, and the idea is, local scientists should also look into it and then tell Ghanaians whether they're actually safe for Ghanaians, and not to just rely on scientists from other countries that we may not readily be able to verify.
I must say our scientists have done so much well. So well. When we started testing, Noguchi started it. We had caused the President's directive to continue to invest into expanding our testing capacity. That we did so well with the support of our scientists. Then we went into genome sequencing. Again, Ghanaian scientists did all that to be able to detect what type of virus we have in the country. They too, I must praise them. They have done so much well to give us indications of what we are battling with. Now, when it comes to vaccine equity, it wasn't a matter of a domestic issue. It was a matter of the international situation. As we speak, we are doing close to about 13% or so full vaccination in our country. America is around 63%, UK is around 70%. That is where we had the shortage, and WHO and the rest of us who didn't have access to vaccines were talking about equitable distribution of vaccines that were being produced across the globe. Because this disease doesn't know borders, and you have it in Ghana, you can have it in America overnight. And so if you just stockpile in the US or Britain or Japan, and you're vaccinating your people without thinking of others getting vaccines to vaccinate their people, we are not fighting the battle appropriately. And that put pressure on the Gavi and WHO and COVAX, and everybody was talking, and that is why We were speaking here, and my president went out on 2 occasions and did some very good speeches about vaccine equity and all that. There was some diplomacy and politics around it until the world decided to release vaccines through COVAX to the countries that didn't have access to them. Got to a point where even if you have money, you couldn't get it. I know one country in Africa paid close to about $28 for, is it Pfizer or so, but they couldn't get a supply. You know, in our case, you remember what happened to me.
I do remember.
When we paid close to $19 per vaccine, and the supplier couldn't even supply to us. You know, so that was the situation. And that is why we're talking about vaccine equity, and it looks like it has helped. Our leader, the president, we must actually praise our president. He did so well with international diplomacy. When we're not having talks or talking to the Prime Minister of India, talking everywhere. Look at how he went to Germany and managed to give us about 1.5 million doses of Pfizer.
But all that hard work would come to naught if the vaccines arrive as they have, and they are not the people are not offering themselves to receive the shot in the arms as expected, which is
the next thing you are going after several
now.
Advocacy and whipping up interest are the mandatory protocols now. Remember, in December we announced that sometime in January, date to be determined, we may have to scale up our efforts to get everybody vaccinated, and we are looking at a strategy of mandatory protocols. In fact, if we come to the Ministry of Health now, we are inspecting vaccination cards before we allow entry, and we set up a vaccine center right at the door. To set an example, we are testing. If we go to do the executive instrument to introduce these, how will it work for us? So we're looking at challenges that can come with me as a guinea pig in my ministry, and are getting challenges about verifying the codes that we have with which type of device and things like that. So soon things will come. The Ghana Health Service team had actually been to do a strategic meeting, and they've come with proposals that is set on my desk. We are discussing, and so we may have to introduce certain protocols that will ensure that people have been pushed a little bit to go to the vaccination.
I'm interested in the little
when
push.
Persuasion fails.
Force is applied. Honorable Minister, you are fully vaccinated. I am as well. We did it on our own volition. We offered ourselves to receive the jabs and we got it. Now with all the theories going around, people are more hesitant, and the conversation about, as you've mentioned, to give them a little push has also gained center stage, and people are saying, I should not be compelled to receive a vaccine if I do not want to. So should vaccinations be made compulsory? What's your position on that?
But we also should not be compelled for you to give us your disease. So that is where the balance comes in.
Do people get a choice to say that, you know, just like I can decide to vaccinate my against any other disease, hepatitis B, whatever,
Remember,
I can also decide.
We started vaccinating school children before they went on vacation. The universities are now asking their students to vaccinate before they come to school.
Is that an approved protocol by the ministry for students to get vaccinated before they go to school?
That is it. It is. Why? Because you are going to join with other people, and your insistence on not taking the vaccine, right, will mean that if you get a disease, you can spread to us.
For the avoidance of doubt, what level of schools are we talking about? Because we have
for those ages between 15, from 15 onwards, so 18 or so.
Okay.
No, we said 15 to 18 is what we left out, and that is what we are doing now. So schools that have population of 15 years above will have to do vaccinations compulsory. When we started in the senior high school, some parents complained, and they were asking about permit from parents before we get vaccinations. And to our surprise, close to 90% of parents did not reject vaccinations.
But for the small number that had reservations, how are those being addressed?
Well, we had to talk to them. You know, we had psychologists who are working with us to talk to people, and scientists to talk to people, and teachers talking to parents about the safety of other children that your ward or child is moving around with, and it's working.
I'll come back to the theories that we are hearing. So perceptions that you take the vaccine and X happens to you or Y happens to you fly out there all the time. But we are yet to see a lot of government outspokenness against some of these theories. Is there such a campaign in the offing beyond the regular press conferences from the Ministry of Information?
These misinformation things happen very much on social media, where some of us don't take as very, very serious information. And we have handlers that are also battling those misinformers on this matter. So our mass risk communication efforts has a lot of support. You know, we have our district offices across the country, and every district has got a health management team, including opinion leaders and those who matter in the districts, and they also do mass education at that level. So we have actually talked about this misinformation quite adequately. And after we started vaccinating since March last year, adverse effects don't seem to have come up so much in the open. We don't have them. And that was confirm the fact that misinformation cannot be right. People tell different stories. Somebody says, I wasn't getting pregnant, but after vaccination, I've got pregnant. Things like this.
And others tell the opposite.
Yes. So that is it. And we can confirm these theories.
Are we shutting these theories down based on our own studies as a country, or are we shutting them down just to allay fears?
Whatever information that comes. Remember, FDA follows the vaccination. At every vaccination center, we have forms that we fill. We observe people. Complaints that can have to be reported to FDA for investigations. And adverse effects that are severe are followed. And like I told, we haven't had any number that is significant for us to actually do massive research into that area.
We are talking about mobilizing local resources to fight COVID-19. I've heard you talk about how COVID-19 has brought some positives to Ghana's healthcare sector. And initially, when I heard you say that, I wondered what positives they could be until you mentioned hand washing leading to decreased cases of cholera and more attention being given political will towards improving the healthcare systems. I'm hearing that at least a significant chunk of our GDP, about 6%, is going, more than 6%, is going into the healthcare infrastructure and boosting the things that we need to make this better. Key among that strategy is to equip local manufacturers to also produce vaccines. Where are we on that agenda?
A vaccine research and development committee has been set up. We have finished a draft bill that is going to go to Parliament to set up what we call a vaccine institute. Engagements have been made with the pharmaceutical industry, and understand a few have been selected to try to pair with foreigners that are coming in. We've had conversations with people from outside to team up with the selected few to be able to start manufacturing vaccines in our country. We were going to start with what we call the fill and finish, right? When we bring in already manufactured to try to bottle. That's what we call the fill and finish in our country for the start, and going forward through research we begin to do our own. We will set deadlines for ourselves and we are participating in 2 years' time. We might be manufacturing, but in the very immediate short term we are looking at fill and finish, and God willing, by close of the year maybe we'll see a Ghanaian company that is doing that.
So the president has told us that about $25 million has been earmarked for this venture. How many pharmaceutical companies have access to the funds, and what's the criteria that you're looking for?
We haven't set up the institute yet.
Okay.
All we are doing now is giving support to the vaccine committee to be dialoguing and engaging with people. I don't think we are going to spread it like other COVID, how do I call it, support that was given to industry, commerce and industry. This one is specifically for vaccine manufacturing, and if you're a pharmaceutical company and you are not working to manufacturing, I don't see how you can benefit from that thing. So it's going to be something that will facilitate the manufacturing and distribution of these vaccines by a few pharmaceutical companies that have got the capital and funds and proper arrangement with partnerships to do this for us.
Should we expect this testing policies to see any changes soon? I'm asking because other countries have made changes to their testing, arrival and departure testing formalities. Should we expect same? the UK, for example, no longer requires a testing before arrival into their country for vaccinated persons. Is that something that we are potentially looking at doing?
We haven't started looking at that area at all. When we started with COVID, what we did best was not copying from other countries. We just looked at our response strategy and implemented that, and it has worked. We stood on 4 issues: testing, tracing, treatment, and these are solution things that we're looking at. When we started contact tracing, I'm very sorry to mention that one big country didn't even understand what contact tracing was. But we worked on that. Now the development of easing, restrictions are being eased. And look at what's happening in Europe now. Heavy spread, cases are surging. But in our situation, we have started seeing a downward trend from 15,000. Now we're back to close to about 12,000 by using our own type of protocols. So vaccinations are going to continue. Testing is going to continue even at the airports. Isolation is still in place. And the restrictions that we are using are restrictions that is trying to ginger and grow back our economy, so that the hardship that COVID had inflicted on us will be reduced a little bit. So these are the things that we are looking at.
And the Honourable Minister has a finance background. He's been Deputy Minister of Finance before from 2001 to 2008. So
that is not entirely correct.
So Deputy Finance Minister.
Between 2001 2008, I was in several ministries. The Finance Minister was the longest.
So tourism, you've done that. You've done trade.
I didn't do tourism. I did trade. I did interior, transport, communication.
So it's a lot of stuff in there for you. With your accounts background, you know how finances and stuff are supposed to go out. So the President had an agenda to improve our health systems, especially the finances of healthcare in the country, and you were the man that he chose to do that. We've been talking to our Health Minister about our collective fight against COVID-19. He's answered a few of our questions. We wonder what you think about some of the things that we have discussed. I'm going to go over to CAF to find out what your questions and comments on what you've heard so far have been since we started our engagement with Health Minister, the Honourable Kwekwa Agyeman-Manu. And CAF, what are people saying?
People are sending in their comments. 055-556-1034 if you want to send a message to the Minister. A health professional says, Walter in Sukakofe, I know that before you give any type of vaccine to a person, you must test the person. Why is the Ministry of Health not testing before vaccinating, Mr. Minister?
Nobody across the globe is doing that. No scientist has prescribed that. How can you test 1 million people before you vaccinate them? Testing takes money. And we haven't had a situation where we have given vaccination, whether tested or not, and the person gets the virus. So that theory, I don't think is great. It's not, we are not buying into that.
Let me read a follow-up. So talking of adverse effects, a young asthmatic lady took the vaccine. In 3 days, she had a severe attack. She was hospitalized for about 3 days, had to pay for her own medical bills, including oxygen. What is the laid-down protocol for suspected adverse effects?
COVID patients don't pay nothing. Adverse effects that are related to, how do I call it, a vaccination shouldn't have been paid for. And therefore, we will have to know.
So for someone like this, where do they go for redress?
Or that you have to petition somebody.
Okay. Where does the petition
Because this is not something that is very common, and it's an isolated situation. So let us see what we can do after a small petition or complain to somebody like you're complaining now.
Okay, this is from Pato. It says people have survived lockdown. They only wear the nose mask to churches, banks, and areas. They are very healthy. In fact, they feel more healthy even in this COVID era. Question, how do you convince these people that these vaccines they should receive these vaccines? They feel that they are
plenty
safe.
theories.
How do you convince somebody who feels that, hey, I'm safe?
This is a difficult question. We have been talking about you vaccinate, and even after vaccination, if you get the disease, your situation will not be very bad. You won't see deaths happening so much with vaccination, and that is why everybody is going for the vaccination. So that's the situation. I don't know how convincing I can be after the practical evidence of we getting that. When we got the third wave or so, what we noticed was that those who were hospitalized and deaths that were coming were all unvaccinated people. Just about 2% of vaccinated people had a challenge. So we have evidence, scientific, that suggests that if you take the vaccines, you are safer than the unvaccinated. And the cases we are seeing in the U.S. and how do I call it?
It's largely among unvaccinated
people.
So I have a follow-up question to the one about testing before vaccination. There are people that we've now come to know as persons with underlying health conditions, and some claim that because of those conditions, they are unable to take the vaccination, and so if the card is made a requirement to access certain services, then they would be left out through no fault of theirs. Is there a plan to address legitimate concerns of persons who may not genuinely be able to take the vaccine and so should not be exempted from government services if that should come up?
So far, I've never read any literature. We've never listened to any news anywhere across the globe where people with morbidities are being exempted. We vaccinated elderly people are those we even vaccinate first without testing. And we don't see such adverse effects that lead to deaths and things like that in the system.
Including for pregnant women as well?
Pregnant women, we are now about looking at protocols to even ease that restriction, because scientific evidence suggested that they couldn't do trials with pregnant women, and therefore we were not doing pregnant women for vaccinations. And we are still on that. Not until we finish what we are doing. I told you that the strategic group had met and it was just the proposals that we are discussing. Maybe that will be eased, but not immediately as I sit here.
Okay, Kaf, more questions?
Okujeto Jacob from Hokwe says he wants to know from the minister that you say the vaccine is a must, and the law again says that every Ghanaian must have the right to protect himself. He must choose what is right. But why is it now appearing that Ghanaians have to take the vaccine?
Every Ghanaian must choose what they want, so I should choose who I move with. So if you are not vaccinated, don't come close to me. Period. So if you are going to a public place and you are not vaccinated, most of us there to want protection for ourselves. It's our right. So you don't want to entertain you there. So don't come there until you get vaccinated, or don't come there at all until we finish the battle.
Tricia says she has a lot of allergies. How would she know she'll get a negative effect after the vaccine? She's very worried, she's scared.
Let that person see a medical person in a facility and they can advise him or her.
Okay.
When is a lactating mother supposed to take the vaccine? Or this is a medical question.
So this is not a pregnant person, but
yes,
she's breastfeeding.
Doctors are advising that lactating mothers should not take the vaccine.
Okay.
So we are waiting to see when we will look at that area as well.
Okay.
I know we've been talking about COVID. There are other health-related issues which don't have nothing to do with COVID. So I'll stick with COVID for now. 055-556-1034 is our number for you to get through to us. Someone waiting for vaccine is experiencing infertility. We would like to know about that.
Because there's
impotence,
infertility, it's a question that keeps coming up, and it's something that a lot of people seem to want direct answers to.
We don't seem to have evidence as yet. I haven't seen a clinical report that indicates that. So I will say that there are still theories, and not until there is some scientific evidence proof for it, I wouldn't want to buy into that. But let me ask, when did we start vaccinating? And when will one become impotent? 2 days after vaccination, or when years old? When will one become infertile? 3 months, or how many months after vaccination? So some of these things should also come forward to enable scientists to begin to look at some of these things properly.
All right. JG says, I went to take my jab in December. I was told there were no vaccines. I was asked whether I could have it elsewhere, and I was told it's the same everywhere in Kaswa. It seems that there seems to be a
that cannot be correct. That cannot be correct. We have distributed vaccines across country. We have information that gives us how many we have received, how many have been distributed across the country, and then how many have actually been administered. So we have vaccines all over the country. Now, the good thing was the fact that we had invested to be able to stock ultra-low temperature vaccines across the country. We have procured over 16 ultra-low temperature, fridges, and then the carriers that is taking vaccines like Pfizer and whatever it is like across the country, and our people are carrying them to vaccination centers. So I'm very surprised at this particular comment.
What are the risks of somebody taking one jab from a particular brand and then say one Johnson & Johnson, and then you go and take another one from a different brand? Questions like that keep coming up.
There is scientific evidence about boosting. Those who are doing boosters across the globe, they are even advising that you don't take one single particular vaccine for all the three, or the booster 2 and the booster. So for now, the evidence suggests that you can combine the skirt and blouse thing. But we haven't started that.
We haven't started the boosting either. So it's 2 doses for Ghana.
Yes.
And just
now that we have vaccines, you're looking at whether the booster system will work for us as well. It is on the table now for discussion.
Okay, so these are the messages for now. 055-556-1034. That's our WhatsApp number. 055-556-1034. Handing the conversation back to Thelma and the Minister for Health, Mr. Ajiman Menu.
Thank you, Kath. We are talking about our fight against COVID-19. The Honorable Minister for Health is at the table. He's been answering some of your questions. We'll take a quick break to give the Minister an awake break. So drink awake water, percentage given to the National Cardiothoracic Center. And we'll be back to continue more in other topics, other headlines around the health ministry. And get your questions ready, because the Minister will be back after the break.
And they call me you. Coming live from the capital. This is the Breakfast Show.
Good morning, my neighbors.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast. Not just any breakfast. Sizzling healthy.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant.
Complimentary breakfast?
Half of your plate should be vegetables. So in my lifetime, I haven't seen Ghana Black Stars being an African country.
Can I show what is written on the box?
Yes, definitely.
Where's the camera?
Just stand and turn. So what's your pleasure than Botras, yeah? At that time of the morning. So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. We've got you covered with a trusted team.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast. Not just any breakfast. Sizzling healthy. And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast. So what's your pleasure than Botras, yeah? At that time of the morning.
You want it served buffet style? Complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant?
Or room service?
We've got you covered. From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. With a trusted team. So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
So we
Thanks for staying on. We are still having the sit down with our health minister, the Honorable Kwajiman Menu, and he's been telling us all about government plans for the COVID-19 pandemic. He's also told us a lot about what our vaccinations look like, also trying to allay some fears about misconceptions and theories out there, urging people to get vaccinated. In this next leg of the conversation, we'll be looking at an ambitious plan by the government to build 101 hospitals across the country, and that ambitious plan is earmarked to cost us at least initially $100 million as envisaged by the president to make this a reality. Of course, we've said COVID exposed the lapses in the system, so this agenda, among other things, is to help us block some of those lapses, we are being told, and also to improve the quality of healthcare system and access to health for Ghanaians. 101 seems like a big number, and the expectation was for only a certain number to take off initially, and then the rest will follow as time goes on. So as the minister is here, we will be putting some of the questions to him. 101 hospitals. We're told about 111 hospitals, 101 will be district hospitals, 2 psychiatric hospitals, and a regional hospital in Western region and whatnot. How far so far?
On the average, we've done close to about 35%.
35%
works on all the 101 facilities.
All of them?
All of them. When I say this, I'm looking at an average situation. We have a lot of pre-contract arrangements, things that we needed to do. Citing, topography, surveys to ensure that we have places where contractors, after signing awards for them, can move into. If we add all that to very preliminary initial stages of construction, that is the situation that we have on our hands.
So we are on the pre-construction stage. We are 35% into pre-construction, is what you're saying?
We can give details. That is the total average.
Okay.
Right. On all the activities that we have. Okay. Let me give you some little breakdown. Out of the 101 district hospitals, 55 sites are progressing to commencement of works. 46 have various site challenges, so that will be held back a little bit with land acquisition. We have petitions on my desk, somewhere in Volta region, no OT region, where the location they give us, there's a petition, and so much so of them. In some districts, we are not even having the land yet. Places in the cities like Accra, districts in Accra, you go, the whole place is slated, you don't know where to put the facility. And we are still working on that. That is also holding us back a little bit. You know, the 5 regional hospitals, we are about 25% completed with arrangements. So the overall achievement is that those ones, we are not using straight, direct government money. We are moving from our side. And we've done arrangements to ensure that contractors get on site. They've been procured already, and we are working on the loan facilities. It takes a little bit of time to work on these. But overall, the hospitals, we said this project should complete in 18 months, and we're anticipating that between now and 2 years be ahead of us. We might have actually got closer to completion, if not fully completed.
So the concern raised by a certain CSO, the Africa Center for Health Policy, that the timeline may not be met with Agenda 111 projects is a legitimate one?
I wouldn't say legitimate, neither will I refute it as well. They might have gone round to look at the situation that
because they went round and they said even at some sites they saw no signs of a project happening at all.
So we have the project implementation unit for this project. They also go out, and where they are finding challenges with contractors and things like that, we have to find a strategy to do a proper project implementation to make sure that we push them. So they may premise on the basis that if things continue the way it is, we might not be able to complete. But when we find challenges, we'll try to upgrade whatever activities we need to do in there to make sure that we achieve.
You already named a number of the challenges to do with land and sometimes siting. You mentioned Accra specifically becomes a problem. Were these not captured at the preliminary stage of the visualization of the projects?
You know, the initiative actually was pronounced before we started looking for land. I must be very honest. When we started free school, We didn't go sourcing out and finding out what it is before it was announced. So this was announced as an initiative, and then we had to prepare to move out to look at what we can do. We have had a lot of support from opinion leaders, chiefs and district chief executives and municipal chief executives in land section and acquisition and things like that. So that is why when we got into the field, we saw this challenge of land challenges. But we are working, and I believe we'll go around it.
When it comes to the land acquisition in particular, what's the offer there? Obviously, the siting of a hospital will bring huge benefits to the people who live around the area. But for those who own the land, what's the offer being given to them to give their space for such a project? And how much land is required for the vision that we're seeing?
Every hospital will sit on 15-acre land. So we are looking at minimum 15 acres in the districts to be able to site these facilities. That's how they have been designed. Okay. Chiefs and MMDCs were supposed to give us the land, and they are supposed to do compensation, if any at all. You know, some chiefs will give you land for a hospital. They won't charge you nothing. They won't ask for compensation. But others may. So it will depend on where it is. But we are relying on the MMDCs and the chiefs in the districts to be able to give us free land to do the work. So there's no compensation. The assemblies should sort that out to enable this project.
And the loans that you mentioned that you're getting for some of these projects, where are you sourcing these loans? Are they local? Are they international? And what are the terms of reference you're willing to offer, or you are tabling before potential partners?
We're tabling before potential partners. We are looking at where it is feasible for us to borrow from. And for now, I can't say domestic or foreign. If we have domestic banks that can put themselves together to give us what we need to a particular contractor to do the work for us, that is it. And if you go international and you don't get, you have to come back home and to look at it. If you come go home and you don't get, you have to go out. So I'll leave that for finance and ourselves in partnership and collaboration to source that.
Right. So as part of this Agenda 111, there's also a plan to build psychiatric hospitals. So this conversation would not be complete without asking some questions on behalf of that. There's a mental health authority bill that the good Dr. Kwesi and his people have been pushing for a very long time, and they want some changes made immediately. What's the plan for the mental health sector in the country?
And even done their regulations. For the last 2 or 3 years, we've done that.
They've complained that financing for mental health has not been adequate.
That is correct. So in the regulations, we put in some levy, which we haven't actually started collecting. Implementation of it have been pushed down a little bit. That is the source that we are anticipating to look at. But presently, we are getting resources a bit from the finance minister for mental health. And their psychotropics and their medicines and things like that. We are doing quite a lot for them at the moment.
What's the current state of mental health and health insurance at the moment?
We still are battling with getting mental health or health insurance. It is on our drawing table. We are discussing, but we are looking at insurance, some things that will make health insurance sustainable. And if we put in the end, it's going to break down the whole system. We must be careful. But government continue to support mental health, even without health insurance.
I want to ask about the military hospital that's supposed to be set up in the Ashanti region. But I hesitate because I'm suspecting you might... Okay, let's give you an opportunity.
What are you suspecting? The fact is that the military installations are not part of the civil installations. So Ministry of Health doesn't seem to have a lot to do with the military facilities. So they are security hospitals. You know, we have categories of facilities in our country. The public ones are those owned by Ghana Health Service and the teaching hospitals. They are the Christian institutions. We call them CHAG, Christian Health Associations. Government partners with them, give them facilities, give them support, pay all the staff, professionals to work for, and they provide service for us. Actually, they fill some of the hospitals on behalf of government. You know, then we have the quasi-government institutions like GBC Clinic, Cocoa Board, Gapoha. These clinics are part government, part private, sort of. So the facilities on the Bank of Ghana one, for example, those ones, the Ministry of Health doesn't go close to. And then the security agencies, the police hospital, and the military hospital 37 and things like that. With a lot of collaboration, we have what we call the health sector working group meetings on monthly basis with some of our donors who support us. They are all allowed to join in, including the private sector facilities. They have an association that we encourage so that we share health knowledge and things like that together. But when it comes to construction of their facilities and their management of things, the minister's mandate doesn't get close. But the little I can say about it was that, the same contractor was doing some projects for us. He's on course. If I can look at the challenge here, the contractor Eurojet had so many facilities to do for us. Started way back at President Komfort's time. Ghana East is completed. While Regional Hospital is completed. Nsoko is completed. Tepa is completed. Krifo Praso is completed. And then the few ones left are the Sewa, the Central Regional one, and then the military hospital. These are two that we are looking forward to actually complete soon. We had challenges with the arrangements that were used to fund or finance the projects. But it looks like now we have cleared everything. And in December, it was some payments that will help facilitate and complete.
I'm glad you're mentioning some of these facilities, because I was going to ask about the perception that certain people have that some projects are abandoned by continuing government, especially when the party in power changes. Whatever you inherited, which ones have you seen through to a successful end?
At times when I hear about projects abandoning the health sector, I smile and tell people that this is mere propaganda. We inherited construction of polyclinics in Central Region. We've completed all of them, including the one my colleagues' constituency on Abuatu Forcing. Yesiansi, Gomwa, the Rampon, Briwa, Echi Sunkwa, Bimpoja, Jamara, Mankong, Konfudi, Ekumfi, Ekumfi Nakwa, and Gomwa Posing. These were 10 polyclinics in Central Region, started by President Mills. May he so rest in peace. We came in and they were not up to 30% done. Completed everything. Completed them. And people are working in there now, as far back as 2018. Right? We have Tamale. They were doing the rehabilitation, upgrade of Tamale Teaching Hospital Phase 2. That has also been completed. Construction offices for MOH headquarters, where we sit now, right, been completed and even upgraded, because they were doing only 3 floors. We added on to create space for us to work in, right. Then the ones that I've mentioned, they were all things in the pipeline that we have actually completed. Expansion of radiotherapy and nuclear medicine services at Kolebu and Konfano, they were put that have been hanging for years. These have now been completed and done. We are working on Konongo, Dumase, Salaga, Sewa, like I mentioned. By March, all these things have been completed.
You haven't mentioned the Fomina Hospital.
I was coming to Fomina.
Information
I was coming to Fomina.
Okay.
That was a problem. They completed Udwa to the 7 and left the rest to be done. Fomina and Kumawu were far advanced. The finance ministry insisted on suspicion of shortage of funds. That would not help us complete all the 7. So they insisted on value for money audit. When it came out, there was a shortage of about $29 million that have been signed and taken away, works not done. So it became a battle between us and the contractor. So investigations were ongoing and all that, and there was pressure for us to complete the facilities. We've managed to work through, and the contractors are just about getting back to site. They are already on site. They are yet to take money from the financier, the lender, to complete these projects. And we are on course. I believe by close of this year, at least Kumawu and Fomina, now I can say things will be good for us.
Okay, more questions coming from you. Remember, we are streaming live on Facebook. We are also streaming live on YouTube. We are seeing some of your comments on Twitter, and we'll get to them a bit later. Our WhatsApp number is 5555561034. The Honorable Minister Kwaku Ajiman Menu is in the studio, and he's been answering questions about the health sector. We started with COVID. We've been on Agenda 111 We're talking about abandoned projects and completed projects as well. What are your thoughts? CAF is at the screen with more questions.
Yes, this is from Isaac K. Ampoma. Since the 111 initiative is a good idea, as a CSO activist, I want to ask the minister if the private sector is invited to also build and operate. That's one part of the question. And then he also wants to know what will happen if the government is unable to complete the 111 before another government comes to power. What is the plan B? So number one, private sector, are they involved? And number two, what happens if it don't happen?
That question is not very clear, Kafui. Private sector build and operate. It's a private sector issue. We are partnering, to achieve universal health coverage. One big thing is that we should do strategic partnerships. Other than that, we can achieve around the globe level. So private sector people will bring proposals for us to look at. And if it's doable, we partner and then we work on it.
But it will not be part of Agenda 111.
Now that we have a number, if you bring it in as a partner, means that we are giving you Agenda 111, we build for you to operate, or you bring money to build for us to operate. So we need to sit down and look at what exactly.
Perhaps they have the one district, one factory initiative, a similar thing in mind with
the one district, one factory initiative. Right from the beginning, it wasn't government that was going to build the factories.
Private sector.
It was, we are inviting private sector for government to facilitate for them to do.
But that's not so
this is a different model.
Okay.
So more questions. So we have the 111 questions, and we also have some vaccine-related questions because we talked about that.
Okay.
Richard wants to know why the government isn't financing local pharmaceutical companies to produce our own vaccines instead of doling out taxpayers' money for vaccines that have so much controversy surrounding it. It's the right time. What do you have to say about that, sir?
No, we are working about that. The vaccine committee is working. The amount of money that has been allocated, I said, was supposed to be facilitation, bringing people to research and all that. If any private person, I know about 2 or 3 pharmaceutical companies that have actually completed their factories to do vaccines in this country without government support. No, government gave them some support. Initially, when we came in, remember Ghana Exim, through the President's initiative, were trying to support pharmaceutical companies, and about 2 or 3 who benefited have virtually completed their factories that is going to do production before the pronouncement of COVID. So we are there, and we are joining with them, and it looks like they are collaborating with us as well.
SG Ajipong in the USA wants to know whether the ministry has abandoned the hospitals started by the previous administration, and you are now talking about Agenda 111. He wants to know whether you are causing financial loss.
I don't know which hospitals they claim we have abandoned. So when they tell me where that hospital is, we'll go looking for it. Apart from Formula and Kuma, where I've explained that we had challenges with them, look at the number of facilities that we have completed. UGMC is fully on board. They are doing 100% now, apart from a few skirmishes that is yet to complete in phase 2. So which hospital again?
So perhaps send us some names.
Send us some names. JG says, should district hospitals necessarily be at the district capital, or can they be sited anywhere else in the district?
Yes, they can. The locations where it has, opinion leaders and district chief executives, we were decentralizing. Okay. And we thought that MMDCs should have a say in it. So we never sat in the middle here to select locations. So they were doing all that. Okay. But ideally, district hospitals should be in district. In some small instances, they didn't choose district capitals. They went somewhere else. But we accepted them. So these were not our decisions.
Isaac wants to know, what's the plan B? If you are not able to complete the 111 before another government comes to power, what happens?
That's a difficult question for me to answer. If another government comes to power, I think it's obvious that they should continue to complete them. Other than that, I don't know what can happen. If the government decides not to do, that is it. But I don't think government is going to go out without completing these facilities. So watch it.
Just back up. What's the level in terms of percentage? What percentage of the 111 have been completed so far?
I said on the average report that I had as of October was 35%.
35%. Okay. Back to COVID. So the viewer wants to know whether they are under compulsion to take the vaccine if we have our human rights. It's as if people are being forced to take the vaccine. Is that the situation?
No, we are not forcing people to take the vaccine. We're encouraging people to take the vaccine by introducing mandatory protocols. So if you're not going to watch football, you don't need to take it. If you're not going to come to a Minister of Health and you don't want to take it, you don't want to take it. That's my point.
But if you want to enjoy certain services, then you will be required.
If you want to go on the public transport, go from here to Boko, and you are there with about 50 other people, you have to.
Nana Kwesi from Sunyang. The government announced the construction of a police hospital in Sunyang during its first term in office. Has that plan been abandoned?
I can't answer this question. I've told you.
Why not,
The
sir?
police hospital installations are done by the police. So maybe when you meet the IG.
Okay, so you should talk to the IG.
I think so.
but they are part of the health facilities, sir.
That has not been abandoned. Let me be very honest with you. You know, we have a police hospital here. That started way back, before Kumfo's first term. You know, we hadn't completed yet. It is now these days that when Nanadu came in, things have started scaling up and moving very, very fast on that. So projects that we have announced wouldn't be put into the bin. It will always be on the drawing board. Plans are there for us to do that. And so at the appropriate time, it will be picked up.
Okay. Richard from Olingo, we were denied so many gatherings in the name of protocols, which was good. During politics, you, the leaders, went around breaking all the rules in the name of campaign, making us believe that COVID exists. Convince me, Minister.
It's a good one. That COVID exists?
Yes, it says during the campaign.
Where does it come from? Where does it come from?
It's from Richard from Olingo.
Olingo, which is the biggest hospital in that area? Is it Pram or
to be in the Pram area? You wanted to go and see whether COVID
Let him go and see whether COVID exists or not. Or let him come to, guys, that has become our major COVID treatment center, and see whether COVID exists or not, and see people on ventilators, right? SCU units created across the country. And he should visit the hospital. Let him go to Trafalgar. We contracted a place close to Ho and gave it out to Trafalgar, the whole teaching hospital, right? Let him go there and see how many patients are there.
2 questions about facilities.
So all the, fellow Ghanaians the president is talking about, and the numbers we are churning around, he doesn't listen.
La General brought down. What's the plan for La General?
La General is on course. I don't know now. I should think that after December, having been there, by some course, we had problems. COVID again, and I keep on telling people. The contractor is Chinese. We are sourcing the financing from China. There were problems with COVID. When they go, they don't come. Restrictions on traveling and things like that. Delayed so much. They have done all the topographical surveys and all that. So it's okay. The last time before we went on Christmas, they were looking for an exit and entry point with heavy trucks. You see that place is a bit restricted by virtual space with buildings. And I said that let us contact the AMA people to come and help them create a road that can carry their equipment and their cement and things like that to the site. And I believe by now they should be working there.
Abetifi Hospital, we want to know what has become of that particular hospital.
Abetifi Hospital is part of the Kumawu Formula issue, and we are working on that. We are not letting it go. Now that things have streamlined, right, we are picking that up as well.
My guy took the COVID vaccine for the 3rd time, and suddenly he had impotence issues. You want to know why it happened like that?
So when did he take the vaccine, and when did the impotence start?
He said the size of the penis.
The 3rd issue, we are not doing boosters by policy in Ghana yet. So you might have gone to do it. But if you do the vaccine, immediately you become potent.
No, it wasn't a potent. I read wrongly.
It was a size issue.
The size of the penis reduced. It may not be a laughing matter for that person, or she's quite concerned, I think. She's just a guy.
Can I tell you a joke? Somebody went to court to, complain that somebody had written hair. And then the lawyer went to court. And the judge asked, the guy said that his fin is so small that he can't rape anybody. So the judge requested that you should bring it out for us to see. The lawyer requested, can I bring it out for us to see?
Evidence.
Then the guy says, lawyer, if you go there, you will lose. So let him bring
evidence is the name of the game.
If you go there, we'll lose.
So, please ask the minister why a foreign company has been contracted to do the COVID-19 test at Kotoka and is charging $150 instead of Noguchi or Kolebu. This is SBI Japan, USA.
Let me tell you honestly, and something that Ghanaians just don't want to buy because COVID seems to be going down. In the heat of COVID, the whole world panicked. Within a twinkle of an eye, Eddie registered close to over 600 manufacturers to do face masks. The first container face mask that we bought, the second one, the person was sending it to Cote d'Ivoire. China had closed their borders to all commodities that would come to solve COVID matters. So we needed to do innovations, and certain initiatives had to be done. Right? Those days, we wouldn't get anybody who had that technology. So that you go and bring a Ghanaian who hasn't got any technology to do the thing. People were dying.
So now that we do...
So we were looking at what was available and who is bringing it. So now that we have allowed that person to invest so much in that area, you take him off and bring a Ghanaian with the new equipment to be tested and things like that. You see, there are certain things becomes a little bit political, but I'm not here for that politics. We will do that in the chamber. You know, so that is it.
Ali wants to know, is Bimbila Hospital part of Agenda 111?
Even with the stroke of it, I can't mention all the 111 in all the districts. But if there's no hospital in Bimbila, Bimbila should be part of it. But I doubt it. He says there's a hospital in Bimbila, so it can't be part of 111. We're picking districts without hospitals. We're not rehabilitating old hospitals. El Sopon will have been part of 111.
So what's the plan for the rehabilitation of the old hospital?
It's on there. It's on
in addition to 111?
We're looking for funding, and it's part of our maintenance culture. You know, some hospitals are very old. Elmina, Sopon, you know some of these things, right? And Bimbila, if it's that old, right, we'll check on it and see if we can put it as part of the things that we'll schedule for maintenance.
Way forward for the Kaswa New Hospital. They want to know what's up with that. He's thinking that the hospital should be fully completed to enable the people around to enjoy the facility.
Which Kaswa hospital? There are certain hospitals that are done on the blind side of the Ministry of Health. You know, road sector, when they were putting up that road also, they wanted to incorporate a facility, hospital, market, and all that. And unfortunately, in our books in the ministry wasn't informed. So the design and the award, all that was done elsewhere. And then when they finish, it's operations. They should come to us. They won't come. And they leave the thing sitting down. Until we go and find out, until somebody prompts us. So Kaswa, let us look at what is the situation at the moment, and we'll see how we can resolve that challenge.
Okay.
There are a couple of health issues that have nothing to do with 111 and COVID.
And COVID.
Can I?
Yes, let's go ahead. I have a few as well.
Fantastic. I like that. Okay, so please ask the minister way forward. There was a question, is it compulsory for everyone to take the COVID-19 vaccine? Well, you've heard that already. You know what the issue is. When is the ministry launching the NCD policy? I believe this is non-communicable disease policy.
We have a policy. We'll do it within the first quarter, very, very soon.
Within the first quarter?
Very, very soon. The policy has been approved by cabinet already.
Okay.
And we even started implementing.
All right.
It's a lot more advocacy. We have started with wellness and fitness centers in all the district hospitals as an instruction. Okay. Everybody should create so that you can go in and do testing, sugar, I mean, whatever.
Okay.
We encourage people through our health promotion units to be exercising. Don't eat too late. Don't eat too much. Don't eat fatty foods and junk foods. Things like that. So we started actually implementing. That's the actual official policy launch.
All right.
Will come very soon.
Okay. Zuberu wants to know, the Ministry of Health trained a good number of clinical psychiatry officers to take care of the mental health needs in our various districts and regions where there are no psychiatrists. Till date, they've not been posted and placed. What is the fate of these officers going forward?
I'm not very much aware of this group that have not been, I mean, how do I call it?
Posted.
Placed. Over the last 4 years, health sector professionals, the finance minister has been very magnanimous to us. They've been giving us financial clearance to take backlog, those that the previous government was not employing. We have employed quite a lot, including the support staff, administrators and accountants and all that. You know, we have a group of physician assistants and things. If they are part of those who specialize in psychiatry, probably that may be it. But we are still awaiting financial clearance to do some of these things.
I think I'll follow up on more issues related to posting and training a bit later, but perhaps finish your...
Why is the cost of ambulances so high? From Sugakope to Accra, they charge 500 cedis. Sugakope to Ho, they charge 300. Personally, I had an uncle who had to be taken from Angwanga to Ho, and they said they were not going to move until we gave them 500 cedis for fuel. Recently, somebody died, a woman died, because her husband couldn't find the money in time for her to be transported from Western to Kolebu. What's going on, sir? Why do we have to pay for fuel?
They are not supposed to charge.
But they are charging, sir.
Why? Because our releases and our normal budgetary constraints in our system makes things a bit difficult at certain times. And so if you are facilitating, they themselves should be in charge. Some of these things should be brought to our notice for us to continue investigating.
But in the heat of an emergency, when the person needs to be taken,
that is the more
they tell you that you need to bring this money. You do not have...
Should we ask for a receipt?
They should in charge.
Should we ask for a receipt?
So when this happens, take receipts.
And will it be refunded? Because chances are you ask for a receipt, they'll brand you as too known, and they may not come, and your person may be left sitting.
No, they can't do that. Their training will not permit them to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so we got the question, we got the answer for you for La General Hospital, Sechi. So the Chinese contractor is there, he's not being allowed. When he comes back,
has he seen it? No, he should be on site now.
He should be on site now. So we'll check it out. It's not
the new year takes way too. I don't know when they said this.
The new year is, probably.
But maybe in the COVID restrictions, probably those years may not go back.
There was a question about sending nurses to Barbados. I'm looking for that question. Do we have some agreement with Barbados as far as
yes,
nurses?
we have. Okay. We have cabinet approval to do that. It was the president's initiative. And when the president came here, the prime minister, and we did that arrangement, approved. And we sent a small number initially, and we are now looking for some more numbers to try to do that.
I'll take 3 more questions and then hand it back to Thelma. We've heard of the Health Intelligence Unit at the Ministry of Health. We'd love to know about them and what they do.
Health Intelligence Unit
at the Ministry of Health.
Some of these things that you are churning out now are the type of things that we send them to investigate. So like you shouldn't charge money, you are charging money. So Health Intelligence needs to scout out to look at what it is. There's some negligent practice somewhere. They will go and find out what it is and investigate and see the truth in it and things like that.
Okay.
People are operating and practicing without licenses and things like that.
Right.
So they sit as a backup to help FDA and the regulators to try to pick these people up. And they are doing quite a lot of
How do people send information to this intelligence unit? Because sometimes people have information, but they don't know where to go.
The minister refers to them.
Okay. Please ask the
ministers cannot opt to go and investigate until the minister directs.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. More grace. Please ask the minister when they are opening the portal for the 2019 referral. I think this is registered general nurses. RCN.
Think critical nurse.
And then RM batch of nurses. When are they opening the portal so that they can enter?
When we get financial clearance, we open the portal. That is where we have permits to recruit. When we haven't got it, we hesitate. For 2019 people, we had a little bit of challenges there.
Okay.
For Minister of Finance. So they should hesitate a little bit. We'll work on that.
Okay. And finally, okay. All right.
That's the Barbados.
So this is the Barbados one. Kindly ask the health minister for me why nurses have been sent to Barbados and up to now no government official has even visited them to know the state of the state they are in.
In the arrangement that we had, they were supposed to sponsor a few of us to go there.
Oh, okay.
As a city, we are planning traveling to Cuba and Barbados in February. But COVID came, and me, let me be very honest with you, not only the president sent me to Italy. He was supposed to go, and he had to go to the climate change. So he said, Minister, you have to go to Italy to meet with people on COVID, WHO, Director General, and things like that. I have never traveled for 2 years. I must be very honest with you. I won't go. But people like traveling, and me, I've said to myself, I wouldn't. So that was the reason why we haven't been able to visit them. But we communicate with them. Initially, they were having challenges. They were sending to the ambassador in Cuba, and we were solving these challenges bit by bit. Now they are coming to even recruit again. They come here. They are now set up. They are, how do I call, consul office in Ghana, to work with them. So it's a bilateral arrangement that we are supporting. Barbados with.
All right, those are the messages on 055-556-1034. So many. Where do we send the excess messages?
But I'm surprised. This has become like a town hall meeting.
Yes.
So the first time we call it People's Assembly.
Yep. Will you come again soon so we do another program? Can you come again?
Is that
Why not? I'll come. I mean, these are quite good things that enables you to let people know.
Yes. And when you go to cabinet, tell some of your colleagues to avail themselves. We'd love to have them here for this kind of interaction. So that
at times it's difficult. I left the office around 12 midnight last night. And I set my alarm at 5:30.
Yeah.
So when I got to and then I have to travel because of traffic.
Exactly.
And I drive myself in the mornings.
Yes.
And then I go to the minister around 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
then I said, why don't I rest for about 20 minutes before I come?
Yeah.
So I sat in the chair and dozed off a little bit.
Of course.
So it's a bit inconvenient.
Yes.
That is where probably ministers.
Yeah. But serving Ghana, we'd love to have you here.
Because serving Ghana at times is killing for some of us. We are all serving Ghana, but our schedules are such that you have challenges. And You can't do everything
indeed
all the time.
But we appreciate your
time. Keep on telling us that we should rest, including even you, Kavui.
Yes, indeed.
The last time you met me, my face was looking wrinkled. You
yes,
said, Minister,
but you look fresh now.
You need to rest.
You see, you are saying.
But I have more questions before the rest. Thank you, Cap,
thank you very much
for linking us
to
our questions on Facebook. Some of you are messaging us on Twitter. A few I have here. Lawrence J. Labi is saying, assuming as a country we fully vaccinate, say, 70% of the population, are we going to continue with petrol boosters every 3 to 6 months in an attempt to maintain immunity for this disease? And we have the financial muscles for that. And what's our plan? Is that even on the table?
Personally, the president has directed that even if we get 70%, we should vaccinate the full population, those who are eligible for vaccination. We are not getting vaccines, so I don't see why we should stop.
Here's another one. Kwame United is asking, please ask him, when will our nursing allowances arrears be paid? Someone on Twitter is asking.
We try to pay necessaries, allowances, but all depends on the budgetary system. You know, I don't think the finance minister is even going to be able to release funds within the first quarter. By any time funds are ready, we pay arrears. So you should wait. We'll pay them.
Many countries around the world have had to borrow, especially because of COVID-19, to dive into other sources of income to boost their systems. And for us, the national health insurance remains a crucial part of the health access plan. But the service providers always complain of arrears owed them.
I think things have improved drastically. And I've stressed that word drastically with this administration. Right. Health insurance is paying almost every month to facilities. Some facilities are not submitting even their claims in good time for them to get reimbursements. Finance Ministry owes us some money anyway. But for releases, I think health insurance has done so well, and we are working again to make sure that these things don't go bad. We follow health insurance quite frequently.
And there's also suggestions that, for example, surgeries and other more critical illnesses should be put on the national health insurance. Is there a conversation to broaden the scope of coverage of the scheme?
There is a conversation to broaden the scope. That's why I'm saying that we are about implementing the NCDs, non-communicable diseases, cancer and things like that. We've now put on the health insurance drug list a particular medication for breast cancer with partnership with one pharmaceutical company outside, so that we pay cheaper than what is sold on the market on health insurance list to treat breast cancer. We are expanding gradually, so there are serious discussions to actually expand the implementation of the non-communicable diseases policy.
Honorable Minister, perhaps this may be personal because these are your friends and your colleagues. We're all trying to work for a better healthcare system. So I fall sick and I go to perhaps Amasaman District Hospital. I don't know which area you're in, but perhaps you go to the hospital nearest to you. Why do we see government officials going abroad for treatment when we are all in this together? So why are you going for treatment abroad?
That is too broad a statement.
Is it?
Those who go abroad for treatment are not government officials only. Health workers who get some illnesses that cannot easily be dealt with in country. A bit of other equipment, a bit of some specialized skills, right, are referred outside. And government will have to support them.
So government pays for some of these things.
Families support some partially. You know, so families come in with government facilitation for them to go. For the past 5 years, I don't know which minister has come through our medical board for recommendation to go out for chief of staff to support. But I've done for doctors and nurses and things like that. So these broad, wild allegations, I don't think at times should be put so much forcefully, like you are trying to do.
So now. It's not all.
Yes,
it's available, but not everyone takes advantage of it.
You know, President Wellens was ill. We didn't take him outside. We didn't. I look at the statesperson like former President Wellens. We didn't take him outside.
But Minister, we've seen some of you
jet off to do what?
To get medical treatment abroad. And you're saying that is because those are not available in the country.
Look, before the chief of staff supports anybody to go out, we subject that evaluation to medical board. Ad hoc committees that we set up to evaluate the diagnosis and see whether going out will be the situation or not. That is it. In some instances, they go on their own. That people will not know. You see how it is like.
So government doesn't always pay?
At all.
Okay.
At all.
We've received complaints from some quarters that people now have fake vaccination cards. Has that come to your attention?
People have been arrested. Investigations are ongoing. Conclusion haven't been done yet. So that is all I can say for now. Initially, we don't understand why people want to go for fake vaccination cards. It's yourself. So if you go and collect the fake vaccination card and get infected and you die, what happens to you? You know, but you know, the world over, people are that smart and everybody wants to do their own thing for money. So those arrested will investigate, and if it's prosecutable, we will so do.
Thank you so much. I think you've answered a ton of questions. There's a question.
Yes.
Okay, Cav.
So there's an organization called Concerned Doctors in Ghana, and they are asking that the vaccinations be suspended because they say the risks far outweigh the benefits. And they point to some countries like Israel where these concerns have been put forward.
Israel is doing the 4th booster now, as we speak, for those above 60. So those concerned people, tell us which part of the world have they stopped vaccinating people so that we can copy.
Okay.
I don't want to debate science now.
So bring a scientific evidence to support the claims.
So, I mean, it's clear that the vaccines, the vaccines don't stop the infection, but there are issues to do with safety that have to be dealt with. Mr. Minister.
What safety? You have fully vaccinated. Have you lost anything? You as a guinea pig. Come on. Fully vaccinated, what have you lost?
So are you disregarding their questions?
For me, yes, with all impunity. I mean, I can understand this. Some of us read science, a little bit, not medical people. But we know from infancy that vaccinations are supposed to protect people from certain illnesses.
They are supposed
We call them vaccine preventable diseases. So why haven't you suspended vaccines in children, immunization across the globe? And people, private sector people with other governments are paying huge billions of dollars to make sure that no child is left behind with immunization programs across the globe. So why haven't they advised them to stop?
What is the idea behind what is the science behind the boosting?
Or to just improve your immunity. You know, when you are infected with COVID, initially the thinking was that you build immune systems resistance so that you can't get infected again. But after about 6 months or so, that immunity goes down and you need to do it again. And I suspect that now that we're getting reinfections with even the vaccines, only that we don't get severely ill. For protection, people are doing the boosters to try to make sure that they don't even get reinfected. I think that is the only scientific question.
So what's the schedule for the boosting? Have you been boosted, sir?
Not yet. We haven't introduced that policy yet in our country. We wanted everybody to get vaccines to vaccinate. And now we have ample vaccines. We are now begging people to come to vaccinate. And there's the need for us to do the boosters to avoid vaccine losses. We will then start doing it. We are discussing.
So you're disregarding the concerns of the concerned doctors?
Definitely, yes. I mean, I said I'm not interested in debating scientifically here, but this debate might have come long before now. WHO itself is advising everybody to do. So the concerned doctors, have more scientific evidence and knowledge.
Regarding the concerns of doctors with so much confidence?
Because I move with medical people, and I take advice from medical people. And the type of people I move with also have knowledge, just like the concerned people.
So our final...
And they have never told me that we need to suspend this. You know, I'm a member of the Gavi board. You know Gavi, Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization. Yes, that is the WHO arm that makes sure that children across the globe are prevented against certain diseases. Right? I joined the team that championed malaria vaccine implementation program. Now, malaria vaccines have been endorsed by the WHO. That is going to start soon. And I want to tell you that Ghana might be one of the first countries that will start. The trials were done in Ghana. Several districts had it. right? That is also, will he tell us that we should stop and suspend malaria vaccines? But that is a tool we are going to try to use to achieve universal health coverage and possibly eliminate malaria, right, from killing several people in our country and the rest of the world. Will they ask us to stop that vaccination? Not only that, measles have virtually been eradicated in our country through vaccinations. Will they ask us to suspend yellow fever? So, they don't seem to have evidence. I am giving the examples and typical things. I'm not a doctor.
But you move with the doctors. Thank you, CAF, for those comments, and thank you for sending them across to us. The Honorable Koku Ajiman Menu is the Health Minister, also MP for Doma Central. He took a job and agreed to stay up late to think up policies and strategies to keep the citizens of Ghana safe, furthering or carrying on the vision of His Excellency the President of Ghana. Honorable Minister, thank you for spending time with us this morning. We appreciate your answers. And this is where we wrap up this morning's edition of the Breakfast Show. Thank you for joining us. We are grateful to our sponsors at Donko Next Level Energy Drink and Awake Purified Mineral Water. Also, big shouts to Akusika Clothing. Follow her on Instagram. Thank you for our lovely outfits. You can reach Akusika Clothing by calling the number. It's on her Instagram page, and you can grab some lovely dresses for yourself. We'll see you again, same time, 6 a.m. tomorrow, bright and early. Until then, stay safe out there, and bye for now.
In the job and perplexity talking, I swear to God.
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Good morning, my neighbors.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast. Not just any breakfast. Sizzling helping.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant.
Complimentary breakfast?